In the darkest corners of history, there lie stories so bizarre, so unsettling that they defy belief. From ancient civilizations to the modern age, certain events remain shrouded in mystery, untold, unexplained, and perhaps even unexplainable. What happened to the lost city that vanished without a trace? Who were the people behind the haunting messages scattered across continents? And why do some of these enigmas still echo through time, unearthing more questions than answers? Join me as we venture into the unsettling abyss of history's most disturbing mysteries. So sit back, relax, and let's uncover the truths that still haunt our world today. Beneath the sweltering sun of Egypt, nestled on the Giza Plateau, lies a structure unlike any other. A testament to ancient ambition yet suspended in time, incomplete and shrouded in mystery. This is Zoyt Alaran, an unfinished pyramid that holds within it an unsettling secret hidden for millennia. Its chamber, located deep within the monument's skeletal framework, is one of Egypt's most enigmatic sites, quietly offering more questions than answers. Unlike the grandiose finished pyramids of Giza, the pyramid at Zoyt Alaran stands incomplete. A half-formed mass of rough stone blocks that rise less than half the height of its more famous counterparts. What makes this pyramid truly fascinating, however, is not its form, but its content, or rather the lack of it. Beneath the pyramid's original stone casing, archaeologists uncovered a chamber that, though grand in its dimensions, remains eerily unfinished. There is no evidence of a burial, no grand artifacts or treasures awaiting discovery. It is as if the tomb had been abruptly abandoned, left to linger in the dust of time, with its purpose still obscured. The pyramid itself, dating back to the Old Kingdom period around 2500 BC, is traditionally thought to have been constructed under the reign of Pharaoh Khaba, a little-known ruler of the Third Dynasty. The standard explanation suggests that the pyramid was intended to serve as Khaba's final resting place. However, this is where the narrative grows murky. Why would such an ambitious project, one that began with great promise, end so suddenly with the pyramid left in such a state of disrepair? Some scholars speculate that the pyramid's design was simply flawed, a miscalculation on the part of its builders. Perhaps Khaba's death was premature, or the resources of the kingdom were exhausted before the project could be completed. Yet, this explanation fails to address the mysterious circumstances surrounding the abandoned chamber within. The room, unlike other burial chambers in the region, seems almost to be waiting for something or someone. Its walls are meticulously planned with precise angles, and yet there is no tomb, no mummified remains. The stonework itself appears unfinished, as if the builders were interrupted or as though they had left the site in a hurry. And it is here that the speculation begins to veer into more unusual territory. Some believe that the pyramid may have served a purpose other than a burial site. Could it have been a failed attempt at a more ambitious project, one that transcended the mere physical realm? Could the chamber have been designed for some form of ritual, perhaps one that was never fully realized? There are those who suggest that it may have been meant to align with celestial phenomena, or even that it was connected to the mysterious and cryptic pyramid texts found in other sites. A sort of spiritual gateway that was left incomplete. There is also the theory that this pyramid may not have been intended for Khaba's at all, but rather for a predecessor or perhaps even a rival whose tomb was mysteriously erased from history. Could this unfinished structure be a clue to something far more significant? A secret tomb that was deliberately obscured, its purpose lost to the annals of time. Then there are the more fringe theories, ones that venture far beyond the conventional. Some claim that the pyramid was never meant to be a tomb at all, but an energy or power structure designed with an unknown purpose that transcends the boundaries of what we understand about ancient Egyptian architecture. Could the pyramid have been part of a larger network of monuments designed to harness celestial power, energy, or forces unknown to us? Could it have been the site of some form of advanced technology now lost to history? Despite the various theories, one thing is certain. Zoyt Alaran remains an enigma. The chamber at its heart remains unfinished, as if left in anticipation of a discovery yet to be made, a key that would unlock the true purpose of the structure and its creators. As time marches on, the questions only deepen, and the answers remain frustratingly out of reach. What was this pyramid truly meant for, and why was it abandoned? Its chamber was left empty and waiting. Perhaps the mystery lies not in what was built, but in what was never meant to be found. As we leave behind the half-formed mystery of Zoyt Alaran, we turn our attention to another enigma buried beneath the sands of Egypt. One that stirs debate, confusion, and intrigue among archaeologists, historians, and Egyptologists alike. Hidden within the Valley of the Kings lies a tomb that has baffled researchers for over a century, Tomb K555. Its identity conflict is one of the most perplexing and controversial in all of Egyptology. The tomb itself is unassuming at first glance. Set in a modest location, it seems almost secondary to its grander neighbors, those of Tutankhamun, Ramses, and Sti. Yet, the secrets it conceals would become the source of some of the greatest debates in the field of ancient history. When the tomb was discovered in 1907 by archaeologist Edward Urton, it appeared to be an ordinary royal burial site. But as the tomb's contents were uncovered, it became clear that this was anything but ordinary. Inside, the walls were plain, lacking the intricate artwork and inscriptions typically found in tombs of Egyptian royalty. The sarcophagus itself was of an unusual design, not quite fitting the traditional style seen in the tombs of the 18th dynasty. And then there were the remains, anomalies that would lead to one of the most perplexing identity crises in Egyptology. The mummified body found within was initially thought to belong to Akhenaten, the revolutionary pharaoh known for his brief but radical religious reforms. His era, marked by the worship of Aten, a single deity, was one of turmoil and dramatic change. But was the body really his? The evidence pointing to Akhenaten's identity is compelling at first. The mummified body shows striking similarities to known depictions of the pharaoh, with its distinctive elongated skull, slender build, and other unique features. However, there are glaring inconsistencies that cast doubt on this theory. For one, the body appears to have been hastily prepared for burial, with no formal embalming rituals. There is also the issue of the body's age. Akhenaten's reign ended in 1336 BC, but the body found in Khu 55 shows signs of a man who was in his 20s or 30s, far younger than Akhenaten would have been at the time of his death. These discrepancies led many to question whether this tomb could truly belong to the heretic pharaoh, whose reign ended abruptly in the midst of his religious upheaval. Could this be the tomb of someone else, someone closely connected to Akhenaten but not the king himself? Some have suggested that the body could belong to Akhenaten's son, the famous Tutankhamun, or even a close relative, possibly his co-regent Smenkhkare, whose identity remains one of the great mysteries of ancient Egypt. But the evidence for these theories is equally inconclusive. The body found in KV 55 does not appear to match any of the known descriptions of Tutankhamun, and the identity of Smenkhkare remains a subject of heated debate with no definitive proof of his existence or his connection to Akhenaten. As scholars continue to sift through the remains and the sparse evidence found within the tomb, the theories multiply. Some posit that the tomb may have originally been intended for Akhenaten, but was later repurposed for another royal figure. A tomb designed for a king, but never truly completed or used as planned. Others have speculated that the body could be that of a lesser-known member of the royal family, perhaps someone whose role in history has been obscured by time. But the deeper one delves into this mystery, the more questions arise. Why was the tomb abandoned and left incomplete? Why were the burial rituals so irregular? And why, after centuries of excavation and study, does the true identity of the occupant remain so elusive? Could there be more buried in the Valley of the Kings? Records or inscriptions that might finally shed light on the conflicting evidence surrounding KV 55. Perhaps just as with the unfinished pyramid at Zot el Aran, the true purpose and identity of this tomb are meant to remain hidden, deliberately obscured by the sands of time. Or perhaps there is still more to discover, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. The body in tomb K555 may never be conclusively identified, and the story of the tomb may never be fully understood. But the mystery persists, challenging our assumptions about Egypt's royal history and reminding us that the past, no matter how thoroughly we search, often holds more than it is willing to reveal. As we leave behind the identity crisis of KV55, we now turn our attention to another mystery, buried not far from the Valley of the Kings, in the ancient necropolis of Saqqara. Known for its vast and often eerie burial grounds, Saqqara has been the site of some of the most profound and unsettling discoveries in Egyptology. Yet among the hundreds of tombs and mummies that have been unearthed here, one stands out, a discovery so chilling, so mysterious that it has left archaeologists and historians pondering its meaning for over a century. This is the mystery of the Screaming Man of Saqqara. In 1920, a team of Egyptian archaeologists led by the renowned Sir Flinders Petrie was excavating the Saqqara site when they uncovered a tomb unlike any other. It was not the opulence or grandeur of the burial that caught their attention, but the peculiar nature of the mummified body it contained. Wrapped in cloth and sealed within an unassuming wooden sarcophagus, the body of a man had been placed in an unnervingly contorted position. His hands were bound tightly, his face frozen in an expression of sheer terror, his mouth open as if caught in an eternal scream. The body's disturbing posture and the grimace on the man's face raised immediate questions. What had happened to him in life, and why was he buried in such a manner? At first glance, this man's burial seemed to be a form of punishment, perhaps a criminal or a sacrificial offering, left to endure a horrifying, undignified death. The binding of his arms and legs, the twisted positioning of his body, and the agonized expression on his face all pointed to something far darker than a typical burial. But the more the team investigated, the more contradictions arose. Why was this man's body so carefully preserved if he had been meant to suffer a punishment? Why were the embalming rituals applied with the same meticulous care as they would have been to a pharaoh or noble? Could this man have been more than just a condemned soul? The Screaming Man has remained an enigma. Ever since, and numerous theories have been proposed over the years to explain his peculiar burial. The most conventional explanation points to the possibility of a criminal or a sacrificial victim, someone who was executed or punished in life, perhaps for a crime against the state or the gods. In ancient Egypt, executions were not uncommon, and certain individuals, often seen as enemies of the pharaoh or society, were subjected to grisly fates. However, this theory doesn't explain the level of care taken in the man's mummification. If he had been a mere criminal, why would the priests have gone to such lengths to preserve his body, ensuring that it would survive the afterlife? Could there have been something about this man that elevated him beyond the role of a mere criminal or victim? As more research was conducted, another theory emerged, the possibility that the Screaming Man was a victim of a highly unusual form of ritual. While it was not uncommon for ancient Egyptians to perform ritual sacrifices, the binding of the man's body in such an extreme and tortured position suggested something far more elaborate. Was this man perhaps a prisoner of war or even a foreign dignitary who had fallen from grace? Some scholars have suggested that the position of his body could have been symbolic of a dramatic shift in power, perhaps even a form of punishment reserved for those who were seen as a threat to the stability of the state. His agonized expression could then be a reflection of his personal torment, or perhaps an intended symbol to send a message to others who might dare challenge the authority of the pharaoh. But these explanations still fail to account for the peculiarities of the tomb itself. For instance, why was the man buried with such reverence in a tomb that seemed to be reserved for someone of high status? The placement of the tomb in an area that was typically reserved for elites and nobles does not align with the notion of a criminal or an outcast. Was this man a royal figure, one who had somehow fallen out of favor or been implicated in a conspiracy? And if so, what was the true reason behind his execution? Another theory that has gained traction in recent years is that the Screaming Man was not a criminal at all, but someone who had become entangled in the religious upheavals of his time. Egypt's history was marked by periods of radical change. Most notably the reign of Akhenaten, who sought to replace the traditional polytheistic beliefs with the worship of a single god, as the Screaming Man could have been a victim of this religious revolution. Someone who either resisted the change or was perceived as a threat to Akhenaten's new order. The idea that the man's final moments were marked by terror, as if he were punished for defying the will of the pharaoh, is a theory that fits with the extraordinary measures taken in his burial. Could his scream represent a final protest against the religious upheaval, frozen in time for all eternity? And then there are the more speculative theories that venture into the realm of the supernatural. Some researchers unable to explain the extremes of the man's burial have suggested that his death was linked to an ancient curse. After all, ancient Egypt was a land rich in myth and magic, and many believed that certain individuals, whether they were kings, priests, or commoners, could hold extraordinary power even in death. Was the Screaming Man a figure cursed by the gods, or perhaps the victim of an occult ritual designed to ensure that his soul would never find peace? Could his tortured expression be a reflection of a punishment that transcended the physical realm, one that extended beyond his mortal life? Yet, as with so many of Egypt's unsolved mysteries, we are left with more questions than answers. What could have driven someone to endure such an agonizing death, and why was it deemed necessary to preserve him for the afterlife? The Screaming Man of Saqqara may have been a victim of a political or religious upheaval, or perhaps something even darker. His final moments, captured in its mummified form, remains one of the most haunting mysteries of the ancient world. As we ponder the depths of this strange and disturbing discovery, one thing remains certain. The answers, if they exist, are still buried beneath the sands of Saqqara, waiting to be uncovered. Could there be more to this story, hidden away in the dust of the past, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself? Only time will tell. As we move forward from the eerie burial of the Screaming Man in Saqqara, we now turn our attention to a mystery that stretches across continents, involving the ancient world, mysterious artifacts, and a web of conspiracy that has left many questioning what is really hidden from the public. This is the story of the Crespi gold artifacts and the shadowy forces that may have worked to suppress their discovery. In the early 1920s, a seemingly inconspicuous event in the remote foothills of the Andes Mountains in Ecuador would spark a controversy that has persisted for nearly a century. In the small town of Cagnar, an Italian missionary by the name of Father Carlo Crespi made a discovery that would forever alter the course of ancient history, or at least the public's understanding of it. While conducting his religious duties, Father Crespi began to collect a series of artifacts that had been uncovered by local farmers in the region, some of which appeared to date back thousands of years, far older than anything believed to have been created by the indigenous people of the Andes. The objects he collected were a curious blend of the familiar and the extraordinary. Intricate gold pieces, silver plaques, and strange, inscribed tablets that seemed to tell a story that defied conventional archaeological understanding. These artifacts, known as the Crespi collection, were unlike anything ever discovered in the Americas. Some of the objects appeared to feature advanced metallurgy and artistic styles that resembled those of ancient cultures from far-off lands such as Mesopotamia and the Near East. One of the most striking pieces was a golden disc with what seemed to be a depiction of a flying saucer, a highly unusual and seemingly anachronistic motif for a civilization that was thought to be primarily isolated from the outside world. At first, the objects were hailed as one of the most significant archaeological finds of the century. However, as more and more of these strange and beautiful pieces came to light, an unsettling pattern began to emerge. Many of the items were covered with inscriptions that resembled cuneiform writing, the ancient script used by the Sumerians, which predates any known cultures in the Americas by thousands of years. And then there were the symbols and motifs that appeared to reference advanced knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and even technology, concepts that seemed far beyond the reach of pre-Columbian societies in the Andes. The collection soon attracted the attention of scholars and archaeologists from around the world. Yet it also caught the eye of powerful figures who were not so eager to see these artifacts publicized. One by one, the pieces began to disappear. Some were allegedly taken by local authorities, others by international agents, and still more were mysteriously misplaced. Eventually, Father Crespi himself claimed that much of the collection had been confiscated by the Ecuadorian government and the Vatican. What happened to these pieces? Where did they go? As the years passed, a strange and unsettling theory began to take shape. Could it be that these extraordinary artifacts were being deliberately suppressed, hidden from the public eye? The idea that someone, be it the Ecuadorian government, the Vatican, or even other global powers, might have deliberately suppressed the Crespi collection is not as far-fetched as it may seem. After all, the artifacts were not only challenging the accepted narrative of pre-Columbian history, but they also hinted at the possibility of ancient contact between the civilizations of the Old World and the New. Some even suggested that the artifacts were evidence of a lost civilization, one that may have preceded even the Sumerians, or that they were remnants of an advanced culture that traveled to the Americas long before Columbus. The suppression of the Crespi collection raises even more troubling questions. If these objects did indeed suggest the existence of a highly advanced transoceanic civilization, why would their discovery be covered up? Could the revelations within these artifacts contradict everything we have been taught about the development of human history, particularly the widely accepted theory that ancient civilizations in the Americas developed in isolation from the rest of the world? Some speculate that the suppression could have been driven by a desire to maintain control over historical narratives, especially regarding the origins of human civilization. If these objects were to be made public, they would challenge the foundations of archaeology and the way history is taught. Were these artifacts evidence of ancient lost technologies that could have far-reaching implications for our understanding of the past? Could they be proof of an ancient maritime network that connected civilizations across the globe, a network that has been conveniently ignored or erased from history? Yet, despite the mounting theories and speculation, the true fate of the Crespi collection remains shrouded in mystery. Some believe that a significant portion of the artifacts was indeed hidden, their existence covered up by institutions with the power to control information. Others suggest that the collection may have simply been mismanaged or lost due to the chaotic circumstances of the time. But even if these objects were lost or destroyed, does that mean the mystery is truly over? Could there still be artifacts hidden in private collections, buried in government vaults, or even awaiting rediscovery in remote corners of the world? The truth, if it exists, remains tantalizingly out of reach. What was the true significance of the Crespi gold artifacts? Did they indeed originate from an ancient civilization with knowledge and technology far ahead of its time? Or were they simply the result of a hoax, a misunderstanding, or the work of talented artisans? Keen eye for detail, the questions surrounding the Crespi collection are as elusive as the artifacts themselves, and with each passing year, the mystery deepens. Could it be that we are still only scratching the surface of an ancient history that has been deliberately buried and forgotten? What knowledge lies hidden, suppressed by those who fear the consequences of its revelation? As we continue to search for answers, one thing is clear. The mystery of the Crespi gold artifacts is far from over. It may be one of the most disturbing and unbelievable chapters of history yet to be fully uncovered. From the hidden treasures of the Crespi collection, we now turn our attention to another curious and enigmatic structure, far from the historical corridors of ancient Egypt or the Americas. In the vast, desolate expanse of the Khat Shabab Desert, a mysterious wall stretches across the landscape. Its true purpose is a question that has perplexed archaeologists and historians for decades. The Khat Shabab, located in the arid, windswept deserts of Jordan, is a place where few would expect to find any evidence of ancient human activity. Yet, amid the endless dunes and the occasional scattered rock formation, there exists a monumental structure that seems to defy the harsh, inhospitable environment. The Khat Shabab wall, stretching over 140 km in length, is a linear feature of stone that cuts across the desert. Its purpose unclear, its origins even more so. This ancient stone wall, which appears to have been constructed sometime during the first millennium BC, is composed of rough, unhinged stones arranged in a simple yet striking manner. Unlike other ancient walls found in the region, which often served practical purposes such as fortifications, boundaries, or agricultural enclosures, the Khat Shabab is utterly isolated. There are no cities nearby, no known settlements or structures that suggest its construction had a straightforward utilitarian purpose. The lack of any associated artifacts or inscriptions only deepens the mystery, leaving scholars to wonder why this wall was built and what was its intended purpose. At first glance, it appears to be a simple defensive barrier. Some have speculated that the wall was constructed by ancient desert-dwelling peoples to mark territorial boundaries or keep out invaders. However, this explanation falters when you consider the wall's peculiar trajectory. The wall does not appear to follow any clear geographic or strategic advantage. It meanders through the desert, traversing valleys and hills, sometimes inexplicably stopping in the middle of the barren landscape, only to resume again miles later. It seems almost as if the wall was constructed with no particular destination in mind, no city or settlement to protect. Given its sheer size and the labor that would have gone into its construction, some researchers have theorized that the Khat Shabab wall could have had a symbolic purpose rather than a practical one. Could it have been an attempt to demarcate a sacred or spiritual boundary? In ancient cultures, walls were often constructed as symbols of power or as a means of dividing the world into the sacred and the profane. Could this wall represent an ancient ritual, an effort to separate the realms of the divine from the mortal world? The idea that it could have served some form of spiritual or ceremonial role has been suggested by those who study the ancient nomadic tribes of the region who may have viewed the desert as a sacred space. Alternatively, some believe the wall could have been a part of an ancient system of trade or communication. In a land as vast and unyielding as the Khat Shabab Desert, could this wall have served as a marker, a trail that guided travelers and caravans through the otherwise featureless terrain? It is worth noting that the region has been home to trade routes dating back to antiquity, and many ancient cultures, including the Nabateans, thrived in this arid landscape. The wall could have been part of a larger network designed to facilitate movement and protect trade routes through the desert. However, no clear evidence has been found to support this theory, and no associated infrastructure or settlements have been discovered that would suggest the wall's role in commerce. Could it have been an outpost or a way station for travelers? The absence of any known settlements near the wall raises doubts about this explanation, as trade routes usually require hubs where goods and people can stop, rest, and resupply. Then there is the more speculative theory that the Khat Shabab wall is something entirely different, perhaps connected to a long-lost civilization or culture that predates known history. Could it be the remains of a much older structure, one that was part of a complex society that left no other trace of its existence? There are those who believe that the wall may be the work of an ancient people whose knowledge, technology, or even cultural influence has been erased from the historical record. Some have even linked the wall to the idea of ancient advanced civilizations that existed far before the rise of the major powers we associate with the ancient world. Civilizations whose achievements were obscured by time, natural disasters, or war. Could the Khat Shabab wall be a remnant of such a civilization, one that understood the desert and its harsh realities in ways we cannot fully comprehend today? The idea that it could have been built by an unknown society with knowledge that was lost in the sands of time is a theory that has fascinated many, though it remains speculative at best. Still, the absence of any conclusive explanation coupled with the sheer scale of the wall forces one to wonder whether we might be missing something fundamental in our understanding of ancient human history. One final, more mysterious theory suggests that the wall could have had a cosmic or astronomical purpose. Some researchers have noted the precise alignments of the wall in certain sections, suggesting that it could have been designed to mark specific celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. The ancient peoples of the Middle East were keenly aware of the movements of the stars and the planets, and many constructed monuments aligned with astronomical events. Could the Khat Shabab wall have served as an ancient calendar or marker for celestial events? The theory is intriguing, but no definitive proof has yet emerged to support this hypothesis. So what is the purpose of the voting wall? Was it a boundary marker, a spiritual symbol, a trade route guide, or something entirely different? Perhaps even something far beyond our current understanding of ancient civilizations. Despite years of investigation and numerous theories, the wall remains a profound enigma. Its true purpose was lost to the desert winds. As we continue to search for answers, one thing remains certain. This structure stretching across the desolate landscape holds more questions than it answers. What could still lie buried in the sands, hidden from view, waiting to reveal its true significance? And why, after all this time, has the mystery of the Khat Shabab wall endured? The answers, like the wall itself, remain elusive, leaving us to wonder. What, if anything, might still be hidden within the arid expanse of the desert? As we leave behind the mysterious wall of Khat Shabab, we journey westward towards the vast, breathtaking expanse of the Grand Canyon. Known for its natural beauty and geological significance, this iconic landmark has long been a place of wonder and reverence. Yet beneath its towering cliffs and jagged rock formations lies a secret, a report that, if true, would rewrite the history of the canyon, the native cultures that once inhabited the region, and even the very understanding of human civilization itself. This is the story of the Kincaid Grand Canyon Cavern Reports, a tale wrapped in mystery, controversy, and a series of bizarre and unexplained events. The Grand Canyon, with its millions of years of geological history carved by the Colorado River, is a place where every corner seems to whisper of the ancient past. But in 1909, the whispers became more than just the wind. According to a report, an explorer by the name of G.E. Kincaid stumbled upon a hidden cavern deep within the canyon, a discovery that would leave both archaeologists and the public stunned. Kincaid, a mining engineer and adventurer, had been exploring the remote areas of the Grand Canyon when he allegedly discovered a cavern located high up on the canyon's walls, far from any known paths or settlements. The cavern, according to Kincaid, was no ordinary natural formation. Inside, he claimed to find a series of chambers filled with strange artifacts, objects that appeared to have been created by an advanced civilization, one that had long since vanished. The most remarkable of these finds, as Kincaid reported, were the remnants of a vast ancient city. According to Kincaid, the cavern contained evidence of a civilization that predated the Native American cultures of the region by thousands of years. He described the cavern as filled with finely crafted metal objects, statues, and inscriptions that resembled those found in Egypt, Asia, and the Middle East. What Kincaid found most intriguing were the mummified remains of what appeared to be humanoid figures, some of which had distinctly non-native features. The artifacts, he claimed, were unlike anything known to exist in the Americas. He even described seeing evidence of a culture with advanced knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and metallurgy, ideas that were far ahead of what should have been possible for a civilization in North America at that time. Upon his return from the Grand Canyon, Kincaid allegedly shared his discovery with the Smithsonian Institution. But what happened next remains one of the most bizarre and controversial aspects of this story. Kincaid's reports about the cavern and its contents seemed to vanish into obscurity. No archaeological team was sent to verify his findings, and the cavern was never explored again. According to Kincaid, the Smithsonian was very interested in his discovery, but did not want to make it public. Was there a concerted effort to suppress the information? Why would the discovery of an ancient city, one that could rewrite history, not be further explored or documented? Over the years, various theories have emerged to explain the strange disappearance of the Kincaid report and the alleged suppression of the cavern's discovery. One theory suggests that the Smithsonian and other institutions were keen to prevent the revelation of an advanced civilization in North America that could challenge the established narrative of human history. If Kincaid's findings were true, it could suggest that a highly advanced transoceanic culture, perhaps one that existed long before the rise of the ancient Egyptians or the Sumerians, had somehow reached the American continent. This theory would upend much of what we understand about ancient civilizations, particularly the idea that the Americas were isolated from the rest of the world until the arrival of Europeans. Another possible explanation involves the suppression of alternative history theories. The idea that an advanced civilization could have existed in the Americas before the arrival of Native Americans is a contentious one, with some archaeologists and historians dismissing it as pseudoscience or mythology. In the case of Kincaid's discovery, the lack of any physical evidence to support his claims beyond his own account has led many to question the validity of the report. Did Kincaid invent the story? Could he have exaggerated or fabricated his discovery to gain attention? Or were there simply misunderstandings during his exploration of the canyon? Without any official corroboration or further evidence, these questions remain unanswered. Then there is the more fringe theory, the possibility that Kincaid's discovery was real, but that the cavern and its artifacts were deliberately concealed to keep the public from learning of a long-lost civilization with profound implications. Could there be a cover-up, not just by the Smithsonian, but by other shadowy figures or institutions? After all, the implications of such a discovery would be monumental. If the ancient city of Kincaid's report truly existed, and if it contained advanced technology or knowledge, then the narrative of human development, our understanding of where we came from and how we got here, would be fundamentally altered. The Grand Canyon itself, with its layers of ancient rock and hidden caves, has always been a place of mystery. But the Kincaid Grand Canyon cavern reports, regardless of their authenticity, only add to the sense that there is much more to this vast landscape than we currently know. While mainstream archaeology has largely dismissed the reports as the product of an overactive imagination or the result of a hoax, others continue to search for evidence of Kincaid's mysterious cavern. Some have even pointed to the Grand Canyon's deep, unexplored recesses as a possible repository of ancient secrets waiting to be uncovered by the right explorers. To this day, no one has officially located the cavern that Kincaid described, and no corroborating evidence has been found to confirm his story. But what if there is truth buried deep within the canyon's walls, concealed from the world for reasons we may never fully understand? Could there be artifacts, structures, or mummies still hidden, waiting to reveal a lost chapter of human history? The Kincaid Grand Canyon cavern reports remain one of the most intriguing and mysterious accounts of an ancient civilization in North America. Whether true or not, they continue to provoke questions about what might still lie hidden in the remote and inaccessible corners of the world. What are we missing? What remains to be discovered in the shadow of the Grand Canyon? And could there still be secrets waiting to challenge everything we think we know about our past? As we leave behind the mysterious reports of Kincaid's discovery in the Grand Canyon, we turn our attention to a different yet equally perplexing enigma, one that takes us deep into the heart of South America, to the dense rain-soaked landscapes of southern Chile. It is here in a region known for its rich history and stunning biodiversity that one of the most baffling archaeological anomalies was uncovered: the Monte Verde Burn Layer. Monte Verde, an archaeological site located just outside of Puerto Montt, is famed for its contributions to the story of human migration to the Americas. Its discovery in the early 1970s revolutionized our understanding of when humans first arrived on the continent. But it's not just the site's age that has sparked debate among archaeologists. There's an unusual feature about the site, one that challenges our understanding of prehistoric life and the way early humans interacted with their environment. Beneath the layers of ancient soil at Monte Verde, researchers found something remarkable and perplexing: a layer of charred material, what has been referred to as the burn layer, that suggests a dramatic event, one that is not easily explained. The discovery of this burn layer at Monte Verde has raised far more questions than answers. Carbon dating has shown that the site's age extends back to approximately 14,500 BC, long before the commonly accepted date of human settlement in the Americas. The discovery of such an early human presence, situated in a place as remote and difficult to access as Monte Verde, was groundbreaking in itself. But it is what was found beneath the surface of the site that makes this mystery particularly troubling. The burn layer, essentially a stratum of scorched earth, was found at a depth of about 1.5 m beneath the ground. It wasn't simply the result of a few charred remnants. This layer appeared to be a widespread intentional act of burning. In the midst of a thriving prehistoric environment with evidence of early human settlements and the presence of large fauna, the sudden appearance of such a layer was something that didn't align with the expectations of researchers. What could have caused such widespread burning? Why would early human settlers have set fire to their surroundings in such an intentional manner? The prevailing theory in archaeology suggests that early human migration to the Americas occurred via the Bering Land Bridge, which connected what is now Siberia to Alaska. From there, humans were believed to have spread southward, populating the continents. However, the Monte Verde site, with its evidence of a settlement far older than many other known human sites, throws this theory into question. Could humans have arrived on the continent earlier than we thought, much earlier? And if so, could they have engaged in practices we don't fully understand, practices that have left behind these mysterious burn layers? For many years, the standard explanation for the burn layer was that it could have been the result of natural fires, perhaps started by lightning strikes or other environmental factors. But as more research was conducted, it became apparent that this burn layer was different. It didn't appear to be a product of a natural disaster or random occurrence. The charred remnants were found alongside evidence of human activity, such as tools, animal bones, and plant remains, suggesting that the people who lived at Monte Verde may have intentionally set fire to their environment for reasons still unknown. Some researchers believe that the burn layer could be connected to the practice of land clearing, an ancient form of agriculture or habitat management. Did early human settlers at Monte Verde use fire to manipulate the land for hunting or to create favorable conditions for the growth of certain plants? It's not entirely outside the realm of possibility, as many indigenous cultures across the world have used controlled burns to manage their environments. But there's something unsettling about the sheer scale of the burning found at Monte Verde. Could it be that the fire was far more destructive than simply clearing land for cultivation? The mystery deepens when you consider the potential for an unnatural catastrophic event. Could the burning have been the result of something far more dramatic, a massive unintended, or perhaps even an ancient form of warfare? Some theories propose that the burn layer is evidence of a larger-scale disaster, one that involved not just the human inhabitants of Monte Verde, but also the larger ecosystem that surrounded them. A theory of ancient warfare, though speculative, suggests that early human groups may have engaged in violent clashes that escalated to the point of setting entire regions ablaze. While there is no direct evidence to support this, it's a possibility that raises unsettling questions about how early humans may have interacted with both their environment and each other. As theories about the burn layer evolve, some scholars have pointed to the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement. A fringe theory to be sure, but one that has found a curious audience among certain researchers. Could the burn layer be the result of an event that was far beyond the natural world? Could a meteorite, asteroid, or other cosmic event have struck the Earth, igniting the land and leaving behind the evidence we see today? While this idea remains speculative and unsubstantiated, the coincidence of a sudden and widespread fire at such an ancient site has led some to wonder if the answer could be found in the skies above rather than the ground below. Despite the various theories, one thing remains clear. The burn layer at Monte Verde is not easily explained. It's a phenomenon that doesn't fit neatly into the established understanding of prehistoric life in the Americas. It suggests that early human settlers were capable of more complex behaviors and environmental manipulation than previously thought. But it also leaves us with unanswered questions about what they were really doing and why. Could the Monte Verde burn layer be evidence of an ancient environmental disaster, or perhaps a deliberate act of destruction? Could it be a ritualistic or agricultural practice, or even the result of warfare between early human groups? Or is there something even more unknown at play here, an event that we have yet to fully comprehend, one that challenges everything we think we know about the prehistoric world? The Monte Verde burn layer is just one of many mysteries that remind us how much of our history is still hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. The answers may be buried in the soils of Chile, or they may lie in future excavations and studies that will eventually shed light on this intriguing anomaly. Till then, the burn layer remains an enduring puzzle, one that forces us to reconsider not only the past, but also the very nature of human survival, ingenuity, and the forces of nature that shaped our earliest ancestors. As we leave behind the mystery of the Monte Verde burn layer, we now venture into the ancient landscapes of Georgia, a region whose archaeological discoveries have shaken the foundations of what we understand about human evolution. It is here in the quiet hills near the Defy site that one of the most perplexing and controversial discoveries of human origins was made. The Defy skulls unearthed in the 1990s have raised a host of questions about the early hominin species, their migrations, and what it means to be human. What is it about these skulls that has caused such a profound conflict in the scientific community, particularly when it comes to the idea of human morphology and classification? Dmanisi, located in the Republic of Georgia, is a place of staggering significance in the study of human evolution. The site has yielded some of the oldest hominin remains ever found outside of Africa, dating back to around 1.8 million years ago. Among the most remarkable finds are several well-preserved skulls and other skeletal fragments, all from a species known as Homo erectus, or an earlier iteration of the genus Homo. But it is the unusual nature of these skulls, distinct in their size, shape, and features, that has stirred debate, offering a glimpse into a critical period in human history, and one that challenges our very understanding of human evolution. At first glance, the skulls found at Defy appear to belong to a single species, Homo erectus. The general anatomical features match those of early Homo erectus found in Africa and Asia. Yet, when a closer look is taken, an unsettling problem arises. The demonic skulls display a wide variation in size and shape, ranging from a relatively small skull with a pronounced brow ridge to a larger, more robust skull with a broader face. These differences should not be present in what is thought to be a single species, leading some researchers to question the prevailing view of Homo erectus as a uniform species. Could these differences be evidence of multiple hominin species coexisting at the same time? Or do they suggest that Homo erectus itself was more diverse than previously understood? What's particularly troubling for anthropologists is that these skulls show a combination of traits that are typically associated with different species. Some of the skulls at Dimi bear features commonly attributed to much earlier species of humans such as Homo habilis, while others display the more robust features of Homo erectus. Yet they are all found in the same layer of sediment at the same site and all within the same time period. The conventional view in human evolution was that Homo habilis gave rise to Homo erectus as the evolutionary chain progressed. But the demeanor's evidence suggests that Homo erectus may have evolved in ways we didn't fully appreciate, and that it may not have been the singular, smooth evolutionary transition once imagined. This has sparked a deeper, more existential question within the scientific community. What does it mean to be human? If Homo erectus displayed such diverse anatomical characteristics, then how should we define the boundaries of a species? Are these variations simply a product of adaptation to different environments, or do they point to a more complex picture, one where multiple groups of humans, perhaps even different species, coexisted at the same time? Could it be that our understanding of hominin evolution needs a more nuanced re-examination, one that accounts for greater diversity in the early human family tree? In addition to the morphological conflict, there's another fascinating and more speculative element that arises from the Dimini finding the question of migration. If Homo erectus did indeed vary so greatly in its anatomy, what does this say about the movement of early human groups? Did these humans with their varied traits spread across different regions in ways that we don't fully understand? The demonic site located on the border between Europe and Asia could hold the key to this question. The very fact that early Homo erectus was present in such a geographically strategic location hints at the possibility of complex migration patterns, with populations moving between continents far earlier than we thought. Some researchers have suggested that the Dimani hominins could represent an early wave of human migration from Africa into Eurasia, an early chapter in the story of how Homo erectus spread across the globe. But the anatomical differences among the skulls throw another wrench into this theory. If different populations were migrating at different times or in different directions, how did they influence one another? Could the morphological diversity at Dini be a clue that multiple groups of humans were mixing, evolving, and adapting in real time, not in isolated silos as we've often assumed? And yet the idea of multiple species coexisting within the same time period challenges everything we've been taught about human evolution. The dominant narrative has always been one of a linear, progressive march from early hominins like Homo habilis to the more complex Homo erectus, and eventually to Homo sapiens. But the findings at Dimini complicate this clean, straightforward narrative. Could we be wrong in assuming that human evolution was a series of linear steps, each leading inexorably toward modern humans? This morphological conflict also has broader implications for how we view human diversity today. If early human species displayed such variation, could it be that our current understanding of what it means to be human has been too narrow? In our modern society, we often focus on the differences between populations, whether in physical appearance, culture, or behavior. But what if human evolution itself was marked by greater complexity and variability than we ever realized? Could the demonic skulls with their disparate features be telling us that human identity both in the past and present is far more fluid and multifaceted than we care to acknowledge? As the debate continues, there is one undeniable truth. The Damani sea skulls have opened a door to a deeper, more mysterious understanding of our distant ancestors. They suggest that our evolutionary history may not have been as straightforward or as predictable as we once thought. Instead of a neat progression, human evolution could have been a more dynamic, chaotic process, one where different species interacted, adapted, and evolved in ways we're only beginning to understand. And so the mystery remains. What do the demonic skulls truly tell us about the early human family tree? Are these differences simply the result of natural variation within a single species? Or do they reflect the complex reality of multiple hominin species coexisting and interacting? As research continues and new discoveries are made, one thing is clear: the story of human evolution is far from settled. the Demani finds invite us to consider a more complex, more mysterious past, one that challenges our assumptions and encourages us to think more deeply about what it means to be human. As we leave behind the enigmatic skulls of Demani, we now turn our attention to an altogether different mystery, one that has confounded scientists and intrigued theorists alike. This time we journey to a remote corner of China, where a geological anomaly known as the Bong Pipes has sparked debate and speculation about the true history of our planet. These strange metallic tubes embedded into the cliffs of Mount Bong near the Chuosha Lake have baffled researchers for decades. Their origins, function, and purpose remain unresolved, leaving many to wonder, what secrets do these pipes hold? And could they represent evidence of something far older and more mysterious than we can comprehend? The Bong pipes were first discovered in the 1930s by a Chinese engineer, but they didn't capture the attention of the wider world until much later in the 1990s, when local researchers began to examine them more closely. The pipes, made of a metallic substance, are embedded into the sides of a series of caves and mountains near Chuosha Lake, an isolated area in the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. The tubes, which range in size from just a few centimeters to over a meter in length, appear to be scattered across the area in an almost organized manner, as if they were deliberately placed or formed. At first, the mainstream explanation for the pipes was that they were a natural formation. Geologists suggested that the pipes might have been formed through a process called biomineralization, a natural geological phenomenon in which minerals are deposited over time, creating structures that resemble tubes or pipes. This theory, however, fails to explain the strange consistency of the pipes, their straight edges, and the apparent regularity of their arrangement. As more studies were conducted, it became clear that these pipes were not entirely natural, nor could they easily be explained by conventional geological processes. Upon closer examination, scientists discovered that the pipes seemed to be made of a metal alloy that is not commonly found in nature. The material was identified as a combination of iron, aluminum, and other elements, metals that, while known to exist, are rarely found in natural formations in such a consistent manufactured manner. Some researchers have suggested that the pipes might be evidence of human activity or even an ancient civilization. The thought that the pipes might represent an ancient industrial or technological phenomenon raises unsettling questions about what could have occurred in this remote part of the world long before our modern history. Adding to the intrigue, the pipes appear to extend deep into the surrounding rock, leading many to speculate that they may have been part of a larger unseen structure. In some areas, the pipes appear to branch off in different directions, suggesting a deliberate engineered design rather than a random natural occurrence. Could they be the remnants of a forgotten civilization, one that was capable of advanced metallurgy and construction techniques thousands of years ago? If so, why would such a civilization leave behind only these peculiar pipes? And why would they be located in such an obscure and difficult-to-reach place? But even more perplexing is the fact that no evidence of any human habitation or settlement has been found near the pipes. The surrounding area is stark and inhospitable, with little sign of human activity, ancient or modern. Could the pipes have been placed by an unknown culture, one whose existence was so fleeting or so obscure that no trace of it has survived? Or could these pipes belong to a much older geological period, one that predated human civilization altogether? Some fringe theories suggest that the bygone pipes may have extraterrestrial origins. Proponents of this theory argue that the unusual material composition and the perfect symmetry of the pipes point to an advanced intelligence beyond that of ancient humans. According to this hypothesis, the pipes could be the remnants of an alien spacecraft or some form of technology left behind by extraterrestrial visitors. While this theory is highly speculative and lacks direct evidence, it has gained traction among those who believe that the Earth has been visited by beings from other worlds throughout its long history. Another theory posits that the pipes may be evidence of a much older lost civilization, one that existed long before recorded history. Some theorists suggest that these pipes could be remnants of a civilization that existed tens of thousands or even millions of years ago, one that was far more technologically advanced than we have ever imagined. If this theory were true, it could suggest that the history of human civilization is far older and far more complex than we have been led to believe. Such a discovery would undoubtedly force a complete rethinking of our understanding of human progress and the timeline of technological development. Yet, as compelling as these ideas are, there is still no concrete evidence to support any of these theories. The Bygone pipes remain an anomaly, their true origins elusive. In the years since their discovery, various expeditions and studies have attempted to unravel the mystery, but so far no definitive answers have emerged. While the pipes have been studied by scientists and engineers, no consensus has been reached regarding their purpose, origin, or age. Theories continue to abound, and the mystery remains unsolved. Some researchers suggest that the pipes could have been used for some unknown form of ancient industrial activity, while others believe they may have served a more ritualistic or symbolic purpose. Still, others have proposed that they could be evidence of a prehistoric network of tunnels or infrastructure, perhaps a long-lost trade route or a system of water or irrigation channels whose true function is still beyond our comprehension. But as we look at the bong pipes today, it's clear that their existence challenges everything we know about ancient civilizations and the history of technological progress. If they are indeed man-made, who built them, and why? If they were part of an ancient civilization, what happened to that civilization, and why did it leave behind so little evidence of its existence? And if they are something entirely different, something not of this world, what implications would that have for our understanding of life on Earth and beyond? The bong pipes remain one of the most fascinating and perplexing mysteries in the world. Whether they are the remains of an advanced ancient civilization, a product of natural geological processes, or something far more extraordinary, they challenge our understanding of history and the limits of human achievement. And as we continue to search for answers, one question persists. What else might be hidden beneath the surface of our planet, waiting to be discovered, perhaps even more inexplicable than the bygone pipes themselves? The mystery of the pipes persists like so many others in history, urging us to consider that the answers we seek may be far more complex than we have ever imagined. As we move away from the enigmatic pipes of Bong, we now turn our attention to a different kind of mystery, one that lies deep within the ancient world, waiting to challenge our understanding of early human communication and symbolism. This is the story of the Vinca symbol tablet, a mysterious artifact that has perplexed archaeologists and historians for decades. Found in the Vinca culture site in present-day Serbia, this small, intricately marked tablet is believed to date back to around 5000 BC, yet its true meaning and chronology remain unresolved, casting a long shadow over our understanding of early writing systems. The Vinca culture, which thrived in the Balkans during the Neolithic period, is one of the oldest known human civilizations in Europe. It predates many of the great ancient cultures of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. The discovery of the Vinca symbol tablet, along with similar artifacts bearing enigmatic markings, has left scholars grappling with a major historical conundrum. Were the Vinca people using a form of writing long before other known civilizations? Or were these markings merely symbolic representations with no connection to written language at all? The tablet itself is a small flat piece of clay about the size of a palm bearing a series of geometric symbols. The markings are unlike any writing system known to us today, with their abstract shapes and patterns seeming to defy any conventional interpretation. Some of the symbols resemble modern-day letters or numbers, while others are entirely abstract with no clear resemblance to anything found in later, more widely recognized writing systems such as cuneiform or hieroglyphs. Over 700 such symbols have been discovered across various Vinca sites, and the tablet remains one of the most important pieces of evidence in the ongoing debate about the origins of writing. At first glance, the symbols on the Vinca tablet might seem like mere decoration or symbolic art, as there is no clear evidence that these early people used writing for practical purposes, such as record-keeping or communication. Yet the persistence and recurrence of these symbols across different sites suggests that there may be something deeper at play. Were the Vinca people in fact writing in the sense that we understand it today? Or were these symbols merely an early form of communication, a precursor to the fully developed writing systems that would emerge centuries later? The chronology of the Vinca culture combined with the mysterious nature of the tablet raises another critical question. How do we fit this early example of possible writing into our broader understanding of human history? The Vinca culture flourished in the 5th and 4th millennia BC, making it one of the earliest known cultures in Europe. But the evidence for the development of writing in other regions of the world is generally much later, with writing systems in Mesopotamia and Egypt emerging in the 3rd millennium BC. So how could the Vinca people have been using writing or something resembling it over 1,000 years earlier than other ancient civilizations? Mainstream historians and archaeologists have struggled with this dilemma, offering a variety of explanations, but none that can fully account for the Vinca symbol's place in the historical timeline. Some suggest that the Vinca markings were simply a form of early art or religious expression, perhaps linked to rituals or ceremonial practices. Others propose that they might have been used for some kind of protoporting, a form of symbolic representation that evolved over time into the more complex writing systems we recognize today. But as intriguing as these ideas are, they don't resolve the central mystery. What were the Vinca symbols, and why were they so consistently used by a culture that, to our knowledge, did not have a written language in the traditional sense? Could the Vinca people have been in possession of a complex communication system that we simply don't recognize, or is there another explanation entirely? To complicate matters further, some researchers have suggested that the Vinca script may be linked to other ancient cultures that predate the Vinca civilization. For example, some believe that the symbols could be connected to the early Sumerian or Egyptian writing systems, leading to the possibility of a trans-European cultural exchange or even an ancient Pan-Eurasian writing tradition. If this were true, it would dramatically reshape our understanding of ancient cultural networks and the movement of ideas across vast distances, potentially overturning the conventional view of isolated, independent civilizations. However, the evidence for such connections remains tenuous. The Sumerian script, for example, emerged over 1,000 years after the Vinca symbols, and there is little concrete evidence of any direct interaction between the people of the Vinca culture and the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia or Egypt. And yet the similarities in some of the symbols, such as geometric shapes and abstract representations, cannot be ignored. Could these shared patterns point to a common, long-lost cultural heritage, or are these similarities purely coincidental with no deeper historical connection? Adding another layer of complexity to the debate is the fact that the Vinca symbols are not just found on the tablet. They appear on a variety of objects from pottery to figurines scattered across the region. This suggests that the symbols may have had a broader cultural significance, perhaps serving as markers of identity, status, or belonging within the Vinca community. Could the symbols have functioned as a form of social communication, one that transcended the need for written words, or did they represent a form of communication that was understood only by a select group of people, perhaps a priestly or ruling class? The mystery of the Vinca symbol tablet and the broader the Vinca script remains unresolved. The mainstream view holds that the Vinca people did not possess a fully developed writing system, but the consistent appearance of these symbols across the culture challenges this assumption. Could they have had a rudimentary form of writing that was abandoned, forgotten, or lost to history? Or could the Vinca people have developed a completely different way of communicating, a system of symbols and abstract patterns that we are simply not equipped to understand? What is certain is that the Vinca symbols force us to reconsider our assumptions about the development of writing and communication. They suggest that early humans may have had a much more sophisticated understanding of symbolic expression than we currently give them credit for. Whether these symbols represent a prioritizing system, a form of sacred art, or something entirely different, they remain a tantalizing puzzle in the early history of humanity. And as we continue to explore the ancient world, we are left with a lingering question. What might still be hidden beneath the surface of history, waiting to be uncovered? From the ancient symbols of the Vinca civilization, we now turn to another mystery, one that takes us deep into the heart of Brazil, where a massive granite monolith towers over the surrounding landscape. Known as Pedra d'Avia, this colossal rock formation rises 842 m above the city of Rio de Janeiro. Its sheer face is visible from miles away. It has been a point of fascination for locals and explorers alike, but it is not just the natural beauty of this massive rock that draws attention. Etched into its face is an inscription, one that has sparked fierce debate, speculation, and even conspiracy theories for over a century. The Pedra d'Avia inscription remains one of the most mysterious and controversial markings ever discovered in the Americas. The inscription itself is carved into the stone face of Pedra d'Avia, and it is composed of strange, seemingly abstract symbols. At first glance, the carving appears to be nothing more than a series of weathered markings worn down by centuries of wind and rain. However, upon closer inspection, certain shapes begin to stand out. A figure that resembles a human face along with a series of lines, circles, and other geometrical shapes that seem to suggest a deliberate and sophisticated form of communication. The origins of the inscription are a matter of heated dispute. Some scholars argue that it is a natural formation shaped over time by the forces of erosion and weathering, while others maintain that the markings are the product of an ancient, unknown civilization. The mainstream view holds that the inscriptions were created by the indigenous peoples of the region, possibly the Tupi-Guarani tribes, whose ancient presence in Brazil stretches back thousands of years. According to this theory, the symbols may represent a form of indigenous art or religious expression, perhaps a representation of spiritual beliefs or tribal identity. However, this explanation fails to satisfy many, particularly those who point to the strange and complex nature of the symbols themselves. For one, the carving appears to depict a human-like face, a feature not typically associated with indigenous artwork of the region. The face is remarkably detailed with a pronounced nose, eyes, and mouth, suggesting an artistic tradition far more advanced than what was previously known to exist in pre-Columbian Brazil. The precise nature of the inscription has led some to suggest that it may be the work of an entirely different, unknown civilization, one that may have been far older than the indigenous cultures of South America. One of the most provocative theories surrounding the Pedra de Gavia inscription is the suggestion that it may have been created by Phoenician explorers or even ancient Egyptians long before the arrival of Europeans in the Americas. This theory is based on the assumption that the inscription's style and structure resemble certain ancient Mediterranean cultures, particularly the Phoenicians, who were known for their extensive maritime voyages across the Mediterranean and beyond. The idea that these ancient peoples could have reached the shores of Brazil and possibly even left behind traces of their civilization is a notion that has captured the imagination of many. This theory gained significant attention in the 19th century when the inscription was first discovered by European explorers who were struck by the resemblance between the carvings and the symbols used by ancient Mediterranean cultures. Over the years, proponents of this theory have pointed to the apparent similarity between the face depicted on the Pedra Davia rock and the well-known bust of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. The carving's sharp features and detailed expression suggest the possibility of a connection to an ancient advanced culture, one that may have navigated the oceans long before Columbus and other explorers made their way across the Atlantic. Despite the intrigue surrounding the Phoenician and Egyptian theories, no definitive evidence has been found to support the claim that these ancient cultures ever made their way to South America. The lack of corroborating archaeological evidence, such as the discovery of Egyptian or Phoenician artifacts in Brazil, has led many experts to dismiss these ideas as speculative. Yet the mystery of the Pedra de Gavia inscription persists, and with it, the possibility that we may be missing a crucial piece of the puzzle when it comes to the ancient exploration of the Americas. In addition to the Mediterranean connection, there is another theory that suggests the inscription could be the work of an entirely different group of people, possibly an ancient civilization that has yet to be identified. Some researchers have argued that the inscription may be evidence of a lost culture, one that predates the known civilizations of the Americas. This lost civilization theory proposes that early human explorers whose cultures were lost to time may have left behind such carvings as a way of documenting their presence or perhaps marking their territory. The inscriptions on Pedra de Gavia are not the only oddity associated with the site. In 1953, a Brazilian archaeologist named Fabio Lee proposed that the monument's location itself was significant, that the rock formation might align with other ancient sites across the world. He suggested that the mountain's position in relation to the surrounding landscape could have served as a form of astronomical observation, perhaps even linked to ancient navigation systems. The idea that Pedra de Gavia may have been part of a global network of ancient sites is a fascinating possibility, but one that remains unsubstantiated by solid evidence. As the years have passed, the debate over the Pedra de Gavia inscription has only deepened. Many researchers continue to search for answers, examining the rock face for further clues about its origin and meaning. Some have even attempted to decipher the symbols themselves, looking for patterns or connections to known writing systems or ancient languages. Despite these efforts, no breakthrough has been made that would definitively explain the meaning of the inscription or its creators. In the absence of a clear explanation, the Pedra Davia inscription continues to inspire curiosity and speculation. Could it be evidence of an ancient, long-forgotten civilization? Is it possible that ancient peoples from distant lands, such as the Phoenicians or Egyptians, reached the shores of South America long before Columbus? Or does the inscription belong to an entirely different unknown culture that once thrived in the region? As we examine the mystery of the Pedra Davia inscription, we are reminded that history is often full of gaps, places where the past remains hidden, just beyond our grasp. What other secrets might be concealed in the stones of this massive monolith, and what might still be waiting to be uncovered in the unexplored corners of our world? The mystery of Pedra de Gavia is far from solved, but it serves as a poignant reminder that the past in all its complexity continues to elude us, inviting us to keep searching for the answers that remain hidden in plain sight. As we move away from the mysteries of Pedra Davia and its perplexing inscriptions, we now find ourselves in the rugged and remote landscapes of West Texas. Hidden deep within the arid canyons of the POS River, a discovery awaits that has long been a source of fascination and speculation: the White Shaman mural. This ancient artwork etched into the rock face of a cliff is one of the most significant and enigmatic rock art sites in North America. It is a vivid testament to the creativity and spirituality of the people who lived here thousands of years ago. But beneath its surface, the mural holds even greater mysteries, revealing hidden layers that have raised questions about its true meaning, origins, and purpose. The White Shaman mural was first documented in the 1940s by archaeologists, but it wasn't until more recent research that the full extent of its complexity began to emerge. Spanning over 26 ft in length, the mural features a series of vivid abstract images painted in red, yellow, white, and black. These images depict a variety of figures, including human-like shapes, animals, and otherworldly symbols. At the center of the composition is a large figure known as the White Shaman, a mysterious and imposing figure that seems to preside over the entire scene. Its face, with its stark white markings, stands out against the darker, earthy tones of the surrounding artwork. The mural is located in a secluded area accessible only by a treacherous climb, which has preserved it from the ravages of time and human interference. The setting itself adds to the mystery, as the mural is not just an artistic representation. It is embedded within the natural landscape, as if it were meant to interact with the very environment around it. The figures appear to be in motion with swirling patterns and interconnected forms that suggest a dynamic ceremonial purpose. The White Shaman figure, with its long flowing arms, seems to be leading or guiding the other figures, possibly in a ritual or spiritual act. Yet, as striking as this imagery is, it is the hidden layers beneath the mural that have sparked the most intrigue. Over the years, researchers have uncovered additional concealed artwork beneath the main painting, suggesting that the mural has been altered, added to, and reinterpreted over time. Some of these hidden layers are faint and fragmented, but they reveal a deeper, more complex narrative that challenges our understanding of the mural's original intent. The very existence of these hidden layers raises questions. Why were they concealed? And what do they reveal about the people who created this artwork? One of the most perplexing aspects of the White Shaman mural is the possibility that it was painted by multiple generations of artists, each contributing to the mural over a span of thousands of years. This idea challenges the conventional view of rock art as a static, singular form of expression. The presence of multiple layers suggests a continuity of spiritual and cultural practices across generations, as well as an ongoing relationship between the artists and the land. Was the White Shaman mural intended to be a living, evolving work, one that was constantly being reinterpreted and reworked to reflect changing beliefs and rituals? Theories about the meaning of the mural vary widely. Mainstream interpretations suggest that the White Shaman represents a powerful spiritual figure, perhaps a shaman or priest leading a ceremonial journey or ritual. The figures surrounding the shaman could represent animal spirits or other worldly entities, each playing a role in the spiritual journey depicted in the mural. The mural may have been created as part of a larger ritualistic practice, one that involved not only the creation of the artwork itself, but also the performance of dances, chants, or other ceremonial activities that were meant to connect the people to the spiritual realm. Some researchers speculate that the mural may also represent a cosmic or astral journey. The swirling interconnected patterns could be seen as representations of the stars or the movement of celestial bodies, with the White Shaman acting as a guide or mediator between the earthly realm and the heavens. This interpretation draws on the idea that ancient cultures often used rock art to map the stars or mark significant celestial events, creating a connection between the natural world and the spiritual world. Yet, as intriguing as these interpretations are, they do not fully explain the hidden layers of the mural. The fact that additional images and symbols were added over time suggests that the mural's meaning may have evolved. Some researchers have even suggested that the hidden layers could contain more personal or secretive elements of the culture, perhaps symbolic representations that were meant to be seen only by specific members of the community, such as shamans or religious leaders. If this were the case, the mural could have served as both a public and private artifact, with the hidden layers containing deeper, more esoteric knowledge that was not meant for the uninitiated. The discovery of hidden layers beneath the White Shaman mural also raises questions about the process of rock art creation itself. Was the addition of new layers an intentional act carried out by successive generations, or did the changes happen more organically over time? The fact that these layers are not always immediately visible suggests that the mural was meant to be experienced in stages, with each new layer adding a new dimension to the story. In this sense, the White Shaman mural could be seen not as a single static artwork, but as an evolving narrative, one that was passed down, added to, and altered by each generation that encountered it. This notion of an evolving artwork points to a deeper mystery surrounding the White Shaman mural, its purpose. Was it intended to serve as a record of a specific event or story? Or was it part of a larger ongoing ritual that was meant to endure for generations? If the mural was continually updated and altered, could it have been a form of living history, one that adapted to the changing needs and beliefs of the people who created it? In addition to these questions, there are those who speculate that the White Shaman mural holds a hidden message or code, one that has yet to be deciphered. Some believe that the figures and symbols depicted in the mural may be a form of early writing or a pictorial language that has yet to be understood. Could the hidden layers contain a message that, when properly interpreted, would reveal more about the culture and beliefs of the people who created the artwork? Or is the mural a form of spiritual expression that transcends language, relying on visual symbols and motifs to convey meaning that cannot be captured? In words, the White Shaman mural is a testament to the creativity and spirituality of an ancient culture, but its hidden layers suggest that there is much more to be discovered. The ongoing research into the mural's meaning, origins, and purpose is a reminder that the past is often more complex and multifaceted than we can imagine. What other hidden stories, symbols, or messages might be concealed beneath the surface of this ancient artwork? And what might we learn about the people who created it as we continue to peel back the layers of this mysterious and powerful mural? As we reflect on the White Shaman mural, we are left with more questions than answers. What did the artists intend to convey with their carefully layered imagery? Was this a sacred space that transcended time and place, meant to evolve with each generation? Or is there something more, a message hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered? The mystery of the White Shaman mural, with its complex symbolism and hidden layers, remains a tantalizing puzzle, inviting us to look deeper into the past and uncover the secrets that still lie buried beneath the surface. As we leave behind the White Shaman mural's layers of enigmatic symbolism, we now journey into the heart of China, where a different kind of mystery has recently emerged. A mystery tied to a burial site that has been both an archaeological marvel and a source of great confusion. Hidden in the remote regions of Yangshan County, the discovery of a bronze mask buried with human remains has cast a shadow of mystery over the origins and cultural practices of the ancient civilizations that once inhabited this land. What lies beneath the earth, and what secrets do these masks conceal? The Yangshan bronze mask is an extraordinary artifact found in a burial site that dates back to around 500 BC. It is a stunning example of ancient craftsmanship, intricately designed and forged from bronze. The mask, which covers the entire face, is striking in its features, angular, almost otherworldly, with exaggerated eyes and a rigid mouth that seems to suggest an expression frozen in time. What makes this mask even more mysterious is the context in which it was discovered. The mask was found placed over the face of a human body, buried deep within a tomb that showed signs of ritual significance. The burial itself, however, is not a straightforward affair. Unlike typical tombs of the period, which were designed to honor the deceased and provide for their journey into the afterlife, the Yangshan burial reveals an unsettling contrast. The mask was placed on a body, but there was no accompanying wealth or grave goods typical of high-status individuals. No pottery, no jade artifacts, no weapons, just the mask and the body, which was found in a curious position that seemed to suggest an unceremonious or rushed burial. The body was placed in a shallow grave in an isolated part of the tomb, with no clear indication of the person's rank or importance in life. This anomaly has perplexed archaeologists, raising more questions than answers. Who was the person buried with this remarkable mask, and why were they laid to rest in such an unusual way? The fact that no grave goods were found with the body leaves many to wonder. Was this individual someone of low status, or was their burial deliberately deprived of the honors usually given to the deceased? Furthermore, why was such an exquisite, culturally significant artifact placed on this person's face, as if to mark them with an identity that seems both divine and grotesque at once? The bronze mask itself is not an isolated object. Similar masks have been found in other parts of China, particularly from the Warring States period. These masks were often used in rituals, possibly as a way of symbolizing spiritual protection or transformation. The Yangshan bronze mask, with its large, exaggerated eyes and stern expression, could have been intended to represent a supernatural being, perhaps a god or an ancestor whose power was believed to transcend the mortal world. In Chinese burial practices, it was common for the deceased to be adorned with such symbolic objects, as if they were being transformed into something otherworldly, something that would guide them through the realm of the dead. But why was the mask placed on a body that did not seem to possess the usual honors associated with such artifacts? Some scholars have speculated that the body may not have been that of a regular person at all. Could it have belonged to a shaman or someone of spiritual significance whose death was marked by an unorthodox ritual burial? Shamans in many ancient cultures were believed to be capable of communicating with the spirit world, and their deaths were often accompanied by special ceremonies, including the use of masks or other ritual items. Could the individual buried at Yangshan have been someone who was perceived as having a special connection to the divine or the supernatural, and the mask was placed upon them to symbolize that transition? If so, why such a minimal burial? Was the burial intentionally stripped of wealth or prestige to emphasize the ritualistic or spiritual nature of the death? Another theory posits that the burial might be a form of punishment or a deliberate symbolic act. The lack of grave goods and the unusual position of the body suggests that this burial was not like those of typical elites. Some researchers have proposed that this burial could represent an act of political or social defiance, a ritual of symbolic exclusion or punishment, where the deceased was not afforded the typical honors expected for a person of their stature. If this is the case, the mask might have served as a form of protection, or even a marker of a person who had fallen out of favor, a ritualistic gesture that elevated them to a higher spiritual state, despite their earthly disgrace. Yet, as with many ancient artifacts, the mystery only deepens as we look at the wider context of the Yangshan bronze mask's discovery. The burial site itself is isolated, and there are no clear indications of the civilization or culture that created the mask. Was the individual buried in this manner a member of the local tribes in the region, or did they belong to a lost civilization that predated the more well-known cultures of the Warring States period? Some experts believe that the mask could have been crafted by a society that existed before the dominant cultures of ancient China. Possibly a group whose cultural practices and art forms were absorbed by later generations. This theory would imply that the mask was not merely a piece of artistic expression, but a relic from a forgotten people whose influence has long since been lost to history. The lack of grave goods and the isolated nature of the burial site suggest that the person interred there may have been from a society that was undergoing significant change or upheaval. The Warring States period was a time of great political instability in China, marked by division and conflict between different states. Could the burial be a reflection of the disintegration of older traditions, a way for the people of the time to grapple with the collapse of their previous worldviews? Perhaps even more puzzling is the material of the mask itself. Bronze, though common in later periods, was not widespread during the time when this burial took place. The craftsmanship of the mask suggests a high level of metallurgy, an art that by all accounts had not yet reached its peak in China. Was the mask a product of a skilled artisan or group, perhaps a legacy of a culture that had already mastered the craft of metalwork? This could indicate that the mask had been passed down through generations, a symbol of power and belief whose origins were long forgotten by the time it was placed on the deceased. In the absence of clear answers, the Yangshan bronze mask raises more questions than it resolves. Its unexpected presence in a burial that seems to lack the usual rites and riches speaks to a profound ritualistic practice, one that seems to transcend the social and political norms of the time. Was the mask a token of transformation, protection, or punishment? Was the burial of this individual part of an ancient tradition, or was it something altogether unique, left to us by a forgotten people whose culture remains veiled in the past? The mask, buried with its silent subject, remains one of the many unanswered mysteries of ancient China. The hidden story of the person who was laid to rest with it, and the true purpose behind the mask itself still eludes us. What other secrets may be hidden in these quiet, forgotten tombs, waiting to be uncovered? And what else might we learn as we continue to peel back the layers of history, one mysterious discovery at a time? As we leave the enigmatic burial of the Yangshan bronze mask behind, our journey takes us to the heart of medieval France, to a place known for its history of royal intrigue, religious authority and whispered secrets, the Fontevraud Abbey. Here, nestled in the quiet countryside of the Loire Valley, a peculiar and unsettling discovery was made, one that has puzzled archaeologists, historians, and anthropologists for years. In a crypt that once held the remains of French royalty, a skeleton was uncovered with a set of iron rings placed carefully around its bones. These iron rings, simple in form yet deeply significant in their mystery, have stirred speculation about the identity of the person buried there and the reason for their unusual treatment in death. Fontevraud Abbey, founded in the 12th century, was a center of both religious and political power. It was home to a community of monks and nuns, and it housed the tombs of several notable figures, including Eleanor of Aquitaine, Richard the Lionheart, and Henry II of England. The abbey's crypts, with their long history of royal entombs, have always held a certain intrigue, but the discovery of this particular skeleton with its iron rings raises even more questions. The burial was not typical of the high-status individuals interred in front of the road, and the addition of iron rings to the bones was an unusual and unexplained practice. The skeleton itself belonged to an adult, possibly male, though the gender has been difficult to definitively determine due to the condition of the remains. The body was found lying in a typical burial posture, but it was not adorned with the usual symbols of nobility or religious distinction. No fine clothing, no jewelry, no inscriptions, nothing to suggest this was the burial of someone with significant worldly rank. But what caught the attention of the researchers was the series of iron rings placed on the body. These rings were not worn like jewelry. They were carefully affixed around the bones themselves, one around the left ankle, another around the wrist, and several more placed along the ribs. The rings were rusted, their edges worn smooth, indicating that they had been in place for a long time. But what did they mean? Why were they there? The use of iron rings in burial contexts is not common in medieval Europe, especially when it comes to the nobility. Some have suggested that the rings could have been a form of symbolic restraint or punishment. Iron was often associated with imprisonment and control in medieval times, and the placement of these rings around the bones might indicate that the individual was being symbolically bound even in death. Was this person punished in life for some unknown crime or transgression? Their remains marked by these unusual restraints as a form of posthumous shame. This theory would be consistent with the idea that the person buried in front row was not granted the usual honors of a royal or high-status burial, but instead received a ritualistic form of punishment. Another theory suggests that the rings may have been part of a religious or spiritual practice, a form of protection or ritualistic binding meant to prevent the soul of the deceased from wandering or causing harm. In medieval Christianity, the concept of the soul being trapped or bound was not uncommon. Some believed that the soul could escape the body and wreak havoc unless it was properly confined. The iron rings might have been seen as a way to keep the spirit of the deceased under control, ensuring that it did not disturb the living. This interpretation would imply that the person buried at Fonto was either believed to be dangerous or was thought to possess a spirit that needed to be contained. Another possibility is that the iron rings were part of a personal or symbolic gesture. The idea that the rings could represent some form of personal penance or devotion is also worth considering. Perhaps the individual was someone who had lived a life of penitence, and the rings were a way of marking that dedication to spiritual purity or atonement. It is known that some religious orders during the medieval period would engage in self-mortification or rituals that involved physical discomfort in the pursuit of spiritual purity. Could the rings in this case symbolize the person's desire for redemption in death as much as they may have sought it in life? As we consider these possibilities, it's important to acknowledge that the true identity of the person buried with the iron rings remains elusive. Some have speculated that the burial may belong to someone connected to the abbey's administration, perhaps an official or figure who fell out of favor. While others have suggested a connection to the turbulent political climate of the time, where betrayal, exile, and imprisonment were not uncommon, even for those close to the royal court. The lack of definitive identification only adds to the layers of intrigue surrounding this burial. In addition to the mystery of the individual's identity, there is the question of why these particular rings were chosen as a burial adornment. Iron, while symbolic of power and control, was not the only material available at the time, and the specific choice to use iron rings raises further questions. Was this a form of ancient superstition, a fear of the supernatural, or a symbol of power and restriction that transcended cultural boundaries? The discovery of the font of Rose skeleton with its iron rings also brings to light the broader mystery of medieval burial practices. What did these rituals mean to those who performed them, and how do they reflect the spiritual and social dynamics of the time? The mysteries of the dead are often as elusive as the mysteries of the living, and it is often the smallest details like these iron rings that reveal the most about the society in which they were created. As we consider the puzzling circumstances surrounding this burial, we are left with more questions than answers. Who was this person and what was their fate? Were the iron rings a symbol of punishment, protection, or devotion? Was this an isolated burial, or does it reflect a wider pattern of ritualistic practices in medieval France? The answers to these questions may never be fully known, but the mystery remains, a reminder that beneath the surface of history, there are often hidden layers that continue to elude us. What else might still be waiting to be uncovered, hidden in the forgotten corners of the past? As we leave the mysterious skeleton found beneath the shadow of Fontevraud Abbey, our journey now takes us to the remote northern reaches of Norway, specifically to the town of Vardø, located above the Arctic Circle. This seemingly tranquil town, with its stark icy landscapes and seafaring traditions, harbors one of the darkest chapters in European history. The Varda witch trials, a tragic period in the 17th century, were marked by the horrific execution of dozens of women and men accused of witchcraft. The trials themselves have long been studied, but it is the records, or rather the unsettling silence in those records, that continue to haunt scholars and historians to this day. Vardo is a place of eerie beauty surrounded by desolate fjords and jagged mountains, but beneath its serene exterior lies a chilling legacy. In the early 1600s, the town became the epicenter of one of the most notorious witch hunts in Norway and by extension Europe. The trials reached their peak in 1662 when the local authorities, driven by fear and superstition, began accusing men and women of engaging in witchcraft. Witchcraft, which they believed brought curses, misfortune, and death to the community. But it is not just the executions, the burning, drowning, and beheading that give the Varda witch trials their sinister distinction. It is the strange and cryptic mass silence that hangs over the trial records themselves. The records from the trials are incomplete, with vast gaps in the documentation. At first glance, the witch trials in Varda appear to have been thorough in their investigation and prosecution of the accused. Hundreds of documents exist detailing the confessions, accusations, and testimonies that contributed to the witch hunts. Yet oddly enough, the majority of those records, particularly the trial proceedings, have gone completely silent at key moments. It is as if the voices of the accused, the witnesses, and the judges have been systematically erased. Entire sections of testimony are absent, and it is in these missing fragments that the mystery deepens. What happened to those records? Why were such significant parts of the trial process deliberately left blank, or have they simply been lost to time? It is well known that many of the accused were tortured into confessions, often under extreme duress, but the silence around these events feels almost deliberate, a purposeful obscuring of the truth. The Varda witch trials took place during a time when the Kingdom of Denmark, Norway, was embroiled in religious and political upheaval, and many have suggested that the trials were not merely driven by a fear of witchcraft, but by power struggles and religious zealotry. Did the records remain silent because they exposed something more than mere superstition, something political, something that could have toppled the power structures of the time? Many researchers have hypothesized that the missing pieces in the trial records could point to a deeper conspiracy. Were the accusations and trials perhaps manipulated to serve the interests of certain powerful figures who saw an opportunity to rid themselves of rivals under the guise of religious righteousness? The fact that these gaps often coincide with pivotal moments in the trials when key accusations were made, or when the fates of the accused were sealed, suggests that the silences might not be accidental, but rather part of a larger hidden narrative. Theories abound as to why these silences remain. Some suggest that the witch trials were used as a smokescreen to cover up the political and social maneuvering of the elite in Vardo, particularly in the context of the widespread belief in witchcraft during this period. In the aftermath of the Reformation and the growing influence of Protestantism in Scandinavia, witch hunts became a tool to assert religious and social control. Could the gaps in the trial records reveal that certain high-ranking individuals were using the witch trials as a means to eliminate their enemies? Were there moments during the trials when those in power, judges, local leaders, and even church officials, became concerned about the trials getting out of control, leading them to deliberately suppress certain testimonies and confessions that might implicate them in the manipulation of the witch hunt? The Vardo witch trials were in fact not just a local event, but part of a wider European phenomenon. Witch trials and executions were rampant across Europe during the 16th and 17th centuries, and while some towns documented their trials with meticulous detail, others like Varda seem to have left critical gaps in their records. What's curious about Varda is the sheer scale of the disappearances. The records are not incomplete in an incidental way, but in such a pattern that it seems intentional. Why were the trial transcripts, which could have offered definitive proof of the individuals involved, and the methods of trial so thoroughly concealed? Were these gaps meant to hide something darker? One theory suggests that the silences in the records were meant to protect the reputation of certain figures in the local church or ruling class. The role of religious authorities. The witch trials cannot be overstated, especially considering the widespread belief in witches as agents of evil, as well as the fear that witchcraft could bring ruin to entire communities. Those who were accused of witchcraft were often marginalized members of society: women, the elderly, the poor, and outsiders who were vulnerable to the power of the elites. Where the missing trial records a deliberate effort to protect the influential people who might have been manipulating the trials for personal gain. Another theory is that the gaps in the records could be tied to the nature of the witch trials themselves, which often depended on confessions extracted through torture. The act of torture was meant to break down the will of the accused, to extract information that could implicate others, or to confirm suspicions. But what if in some cases those confessions were not as reliable as they were made out to be? What if some of the confessions were later seen as fabricated, and the silences in the records reflect an attempt to suppress that uncomfortable reality? In this view, the gaps represent a cover-up of the reality of how these trials unfolded, how far they may have spiraled out of control, and how the truth became less important than the need to maintain a narrative of witch hunting and religious purity. Still, the silence of the records could also suggest something more profound and unsettling. Could the gaps in the documentation point to the fact that in some instances the accused were not given fair trials at all? Could the lack of testimony and the missing confessions imply that there were individuals in Varda who resisted the witch hunt altogether, whether through silence, defiance, or some form of secret resistance? Was there a larger social or spiritual undercurrent that rejected the trials and sought to erase their record from history? As we reflect on the mystery of the missing records, it becomes clear that the Vardo witch trials remain an enigma, not just because of the brutal executions that took place, but because of the quiet voids in the historical narrative. What really happened during those trials? And why has the history surrounding them been so deliberately obscured? Was it simply a matter of religious fervor? Or is there something more insidious, something about power, fear, and manipulation that has been kept hidden in the silent gaps of these records? The chilling silence that surrounds the Vardo witch trials only adds to the complexity of the story, leaving us to wonder what truths remain buried beneath the surface of this historical darkness, and what secrets might still be waiting to be uncovered. As we leave behind the chilling silence of the Vardo witch trials, we now find ourselves in the high-altitude landscapes of the Andes, where ancient myths and forgotten histories are woven into the very rocks and earth. Here in the remote Peruvian highlands stands a mysterious site known as Muru, also called the Gate of the Gods. Carved into the side of a mountain, this enigmatic stone doorway has become a focal point for theories and legends about lost civilizations, ancient technologies, and even interdimensional travel. What lies beyond this strange portal, and what is its true purpose? The site itself is striking in its simplicity, an immense stone structure carved into a solid rock face. The gate is approximately 7 m wide, with a rectangular shape that stands in sharp contrast to the natural landscape surrounding it. It is a perfect doorway framed by smooth, weathered edges, leading into a solid wall of stone. Unlike other archaeological sites in the region such as Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman, which are built with perfectly cut stones arranged in complex formations, Muru appears almost unfinished. Yet, despite its apparent simplicity, it holds an undeniable presence, as though it were designed with a purpose far beyond the capabilities of the indigenous peoples who once lived in this area. The legend surrounding the Gate of the Gods has been passed down through generations, and it is steeped in mystery. According to local lore, this gate was once the entrance to a sacred portal used by ancient gods, or perhaps a means of communication with other worldly beings. Some say that the gate was a stargate used by the gods to travel between worlds, while others claim that it was an ancient gateway to the underworld. The stories speak of powerful beings, possibly extraterrestrials or spiritual entities, who used the gate to come and go from this world, and that it held a key to a lost, highly advanced civilization. But is this just the stuff of myth, or could there be something deeper and more tangible behind the legend? Archaeologically speaking, the site has long been a subject of interest. The rock formation that houses the gate shows signs of being carved by human hands, and experts agree that it was likely part of a ceremonial or religious site. However, there is no clear evidence of what exactly the gate was used for. Some suggest that it may have been a ritualistic entrance, a symbol of the spiritual journey between the earthly realm and the divine. Others propose that the gate could have served as a marker for astronomical events or rituals tied to the stars and constellations. The precise alignment of the gate and its placement within the natural landscape suggests that it may have held great significance for the cultures that inhabited the region long before the arrival of the Incas. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, the legends persist. The idea that the Gate of the Gods could be a physical doorway to another dimension or an interdimensional portal has captured the imaginations of many. Some modern theorists speculate that Muru is far more than just a ceremonial site. It is a relic of ancient technologies that were far ahead of their time. Could it be possible that the people who built this structure had access to knowledge or technologies that allowed them to manipulate time and space? And if so, what could that mean for our understanding of ancient civilizations? One of the most compelling aspects of the Muru legend is the supposed disappearance of the stone doorway. According to some accounts, the gate is said to have once been an active portal used by those with the knowledge to access it. It is said that when the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, they witnessed the portal in use, but were unable to comprehend its true function. Some even claim that the gate disappeared or was hidden by local priests to protect its secrets as the Spanish sought to destroy indigenous cultures and their sacred sites. But what exactly happened to the gate? Could the vanishing be symbolic of something much more profound? A loss of ancient knowledge and spiritual practices that we can no longer access? Or is there a more practical explanation? One that ties back to natural processes like erosion or the gradual disappearance of the site due to environmental factors. Adding to the mystery is the fact that similar gates or portals have been reported in other parts of the world, particularly in places like Egypt and Bolivia. These sites, often linked to ancient religious practices and astronomical observations, have long been associated with the idea of a stargate or a portal to other dimensions. Could Aramumuru be part of a wider global network of such gateways, all of which share the same mystical and otherworldly significance? Or is it simply an isolated, unique feature of Indian culture, created for unknown purposes now lost to time? While mainstream archaeologists generally attribute the gate to the ceremonial practices of the ancient Andean peoples, some fringe theorists suggest that the gate may be of extraterrestrial origin. These theories often cite the precision with which the gate was carved, as well as the mysterious aura surrounding the site. Could the advanced technology required to craft such a precise, smooth portal have come from an outside source, perhaps beings from another world? While there is no evidence to support this hypothesis, it has not stopped a number of UFO enthusiasts and ancient astronaut theorists from drawing parallels between the Aramumuru Gate and other alleged extraterrestrial sites across the globe. Some claim that the gate is not just a remnant of an ancient civilization, but a beacon, a message from another time, meant to connect humanity to forces beyond our world. Even the name Gate of the Gods evokes images of divine beings, otherworldly messengers, or lost civilizations whose knowledge was far beyond that of the societies that came after them. Could the gate have been designed to serve as a physical conduit, a bridge between the earthly and the celestial, or even between different dimensions? And if such a thing were possible, what could the knowledge of those who built this site reveal about humanity's potential, our place in the cosmos, and the true nature of reality? While there is much speculation about the meaning and purpose of Aramumuru, the site itself remains an enduring puzzle. With no definitive explanation for its construction or use, and no conclusive evidence of its purpose, the Gate of the Gods continues to stir the imagination of those who encounter it. What truths might lie hidden in the unexplained elements of this ancient site? Could there be something still waiting to be uncovered? An insight or discovery that could reveal a deeper understanding of the human story, or perhaps even a connection to something far beyond our comprehension. The legends of Aramumuru persist, and with them, the promise of an enduring mystery. That continues to beckon us toward the unknown. Leaving the mysterious Gate of the Gods behind, we now find ourselves in the remote expanse of the Canadian Arctic, where the icy winds sweep across a vast and desolate landscape. In this region, the land holds its secrets closely, and one of the most perplexing and chilling mysteries is the sudden and inexplicable disappearance of an entire village. An event that remains unsolved to this day. This is the haunting case of the Lake Angukuni village disappearance, a chilling enigma that has puzzled investigators, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike for decades. The village of Angukuni, once home to an Inuit community, was located near the shores of Lake Angukuni, a remote body of water nestled in the wilderness of Nunavut, northern Canada. The area itself is stark and inhospitable, characterized by freezing temperatures, long unyielding winters, and a sense of isolation that is hard to comprehend for those unfamiliar with such harsh climates. The lake, whose waters are dark and deep, sits surrounded by dense forests and snow-capped mountains, offering little in the way of civilization beyond the few small settlements that dot the landscape. It is a place where the forces of nature dominate and human life exists at the mercy of the elements. In 1930, the small village of Angukuni vanished without a trace. The story begins when a trapper named Joe Leal, traveling through the area, arrived at the village, expecting to find its inhabitants going about their daily routines. What he found, however, was a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life, and one that would leave an indelible mark on the historical record. The village was eerily deserted. The homes were intact with fires still smoldering in the hearths, and food was left uneaten, as though the inhabitants had abruptly abandoned their lives. There was no sign of struggle or violence, and everything appeared untouched. Yet the people were gone. Leal described finding personal belongings scattered about, including coats, tools, and weapons, but there were no signs of any struggle, and nothing suggested where the villagers had gone or why they left so suddenly. What truly deepened the mystery, however, were the reports that followed. As Label continued to investigate, he found that the village had been completely deserted. There were no bodies, no signs of life, and no evidence to explain what had happened to the villagers. Even more unsettling was the discovery of several strange details. A few dogs that had been kept by the villagers were found frozen to death, their bodies stiff and lifeless, suggesting they had been abandoned during the coldest months. The graves of those who had passed on were also said to have been disturbed, either dug up or left exposed, as if something had prevented the usual rites of burial from taking place. What made this disappearance all the more strange was the complete lack of explanation. No one in the nearby areas reported seeing or hearing anything unusual. No other groups were thought to be in the vicinity at the time. The absence of any obvious causes, a natural disaster, a violent attack, or a mass migration, left investigators at a loss. The Inuit people who lived in the region had long been accustomed to the harsh realities of life in the Arctic, and there was no reason to suspect that they would have simply abandoned their homes without cause. Many theories have emerged to explain the mysterious disappearance of the Anjukuni villagers, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. One of the more conventional explanations is that the villagers, faced with a sudden and overwhelming natural disaster, may have fled in haste, seeking safety elsewhere. However, this theory has never been substantiated. There was no record of any storm, earthquake, or other catastrophe that would have caused the inhabitants to evacuate. The absence of any signs of an emergency, such as damaged homes or panic-driven flight, makes this explanation seem unlikely. Another possible explanation is that the villagers fell victim to some form of mass poisoning or disease. There are reports that some researchers have considered the possibility of food poisoning or an epidemic that could have caused the villagers to flee, either to find help or in response to their illness. However, no trace of such a disease or poison has ever been found, and there are no indications that any villagers fell ill in the months leading up to the disappearance. The fact that food was left uneaten, and that there were no signs of bodies being buried or taken away, makes this theory less plausible as well. Some have suggested that the disappearance could have been linked to an encounter with a group of outsiders, perhaps other settlers or explorers who had made their way to the region. However, there is no historical evidence to suggest that there were any known groups traveling through the area at the time, and the proximity of the village to other communities suggests that any such group would have been easily detected. The sudden and complete disappearance of an entire population without any warning or trace would be an unlikely result of such an encounter. The more speculative theories are the ones that continue to capture the public imagination. Some have proposed that the villagers' disappearance was the result of a supernatural or extraterrestrial event. The idea that the village could have vanished due to a mysterious force from beyond the Earth is an alluring theory that draws on local legends of otherworldly beings and strange phenomena in the Arctic. Some reports suggest that the villagers had spoken of strange lights in the sky before their disappearance, though these accounts are often difficult to verify. Could the villagers have been taken by extraterrestrials, as some have suggested? Or could there have been a portal or rift in spacetime, allowing the people of Anjukuni to vanish without a trace? Others have speculated that the disappearance was the result of an ancient curse. One tied to the land itself. Inuit folklore speaks of mysterious forces that inhabit the Arctic wilderness, forces that can drive people mad, cause inexplicable disappearances, or even transport people to other worlds. Could the villagers have unwittingly triggered some ancient curse that led to their sudden and mysterious disappearance? And if so, what could have caused the curse to be activated? And why would it have been unleashed on the people of Anjukuni? What is perhaps most troubling about the Lake Anjukuni village disappearance is the sheer number of unanswered questions. The absence of evidence, the lack of any obvious explanation, and the strange details surrounding the case all contribute to a sense of profound unease. What happened to the people of Anjukuni? Where did they go and why? Was this the result of a natural disaster, a supernatural force, or something even more inexplicable? Despite the passing of decades, the mystery of the Anjukuni village remains one of the most perplexing and unnerving stories in Canadian history. The disappearance continues to be an open question, one that has no clear answers. As we look back at this chilling event, we are left with more questions than answers. Could the truth be hidden somewhere in the frozen expanse of the Canadian wilderness? Or is there something far more elusive, something that remains just beyond our reach, waiting to be discovered? The mystery endures, and the village of Anjukuni remains a haunting reminder of how much of history is still waiting to be uncovered. Leaving behind the haunting mystery of the Lake Anjukuni disappearance, we turn our attention to a curious and controversial artifact found much further south, deep within the forests of Oklahoma, where the wind stirs the leaves and the air carries whispers of ancient times. Here, amidst the rolling hills of heaven, a peculiar stone carving known as the Heaven Runestone rests on a bluff overlooking the lush landscape. This rock, bearing what appears to be runic inscriptions, has sparked a debate that stretches back over a century, drawing in historians, archaeologists, and linguists alike. The question that hangs over it is this: who carved this stone, and what does it reveal about the history of the Americas? The Heavener Runestone, standing upright in the wilderness, is a weathered and rugged slab of sandstone. At first glance, it might seem unremarkable, blending in with the natural environment around it. But on closer inspection, a series of strange symbols are visible on its surface, carved deeply into the stone. These markings are unlike anything indigenous to the region or the known traditions of Native American cultures. Instead, they resemble ancient Norse runes, symbols used by the Vikings during the early medieval period. The discovery of these markings, dating back to the early 19th century, has prompted heated debates about the possibility of pre-Columbian contact between Vikings and the indigenous peoples of North America. The stone's discovery was first reported by a group of local settlers in the early 1830s. The inscriptions, which resemble a mixture of runes similar to those used by Norse seafarers, caught the attention of the settlers and the surrounding community. Over the years, the stone has been the subject of numerous investigations, and it has been carefully studied by archaeologists and experts in ancient languages. The most common interpretation is that the symbols on the stone represent the name of a Viking leader or a group of Vikings who may have traveled to the region long before the arrival of Columbus. One theory proposes that the stone was carved by Norse explorers who made their way to North America centuries before the first known expeditions by European settlers. According to this idea, the Vikings, who were known to have traveled extensively across the North Atlantic, reaching Greenland and even the northeastern coast of modern-day Canada, may have ventured further into the interior of the continent, reaching as far south as Oklahoma. The Heaven Runestone, with its resemblance to Norse runes, could be evidence of this journey. However, this theory is far from universally accepted. Mainstream scholars and archaeologists have long debated the authenticity of the inscriptions. Some have suggested that the markings on the stone are merely a coincidence, or that they were created by a group of 19th century settlers who sought to create a link between the ancient Norse and the New World. These skeptics argue that the symbols may have been misinterpreted, or that they were carved by individuals with a limited understanding of runic writing. They also point out that the inscriptions on the stone are not a perfect match for the runes used by the Vikings, which raises doubts about the possibility of authentic Norse involvement. What complicates matters further is the lack of concrete evidence that supports the idea of Viking exploration of the interior of the continent. While it is well documented that the Vikings established settlements in Greenland and Newfoundland around the year 100 AD, there is no definitive archaeological evidence to suggest that they ventured any further inland or southward. The idea of Norse explorers reaching Oklahoma with its vast and rugged terrain remains a subject of controversy. Did the Vikings travel this far? Or is Heaven or Runestone simply a product of local folklore created to fuel a sense of connection with a distant and legendary past? For those who support the theory of Viking presence in North America, the Heaven Runestone is just one piece of a larger puzzle. They point to other potential evidence of pre-Columbian European contact with the Americas, including ancient maps, artifacts, and stories passed down through indigenous cultures. Some researchers believe that the stone could be evidence of a lost Viking expedition that traveled through the interior of the continent, either by boat along the river systems or overland across the plains. But these explorers have left behind other traces of their journey, perhaps even settlements or other carvings hidden somewhere in the vast expanse of the American wilderness. There are also those who suggest a more mystical or speculative explanation for the Heaven or Runestone. Some believe that the stone's markings represent something beyond simple linguistic or historical significance, that they are part of an ancient, forgotten knowledge that ties together distant cultures and civilizations. This theory posits that the runes could be part of a secret history of human migration, one that predates recorded history and connects the old world to the new world in ways we have yet to understand. Could Heaven or Runestone be a symbol of a lost global civilization, one that transcended the boundaries of time and geography? As fascinating as these theories may be, they are not without their detractors. Critics of the Viking connection argue that the idea of pre-Columbian European exploration is often based on conjecture and circumstantial evidence. They caution against reading too much into the inscriptions on the Heaven Runestone, pointing out that there are many other possible explanations for the markings, including local Native American interpretations or even deliberate hoaxes. Could the carvings simply be a product of a later era, inspired by the growing? Interest in European explorers and their legendary voyages. Was the stone merely an attempt to align Oklahoma with the larger narratives of exploration and discovery that were taking place in the 19th century? At the heart of the Heaven-Runestone controversy is a fundamental question. What is the true nature of history? Is it something that we can piece together with the evidence we have? Or is it a vast interconnected story that stretches far beyond the written record? The Heaven-Runestone stands as a reminder of how little we truly know about the ancient past and how much remains to be uncovered. The stone's enigmatic inscriptions continue to captivate our imaginations and challenge our understanding of the history of the Americas. Could Heaven or Runestone be a genuine artifact of Norse exploration in the Americas, a forgotten trace of an ancient journey that never made it into the history books? Or is it simply another mystery, one that reflects the complex and often elusive nature of human history, as we reflect on the unanswered questions? Surrounding this stone, we are reminded of how many pieces of the past remain hidden, waiting for the right moment or the right discovery to shed light on their true meaning. For now, Heaven or Runestone remains an open question. Its true authorship is yet to be conclusively determined. What might still be hidden in the shadows of this mysterious rock waiting to be uncovered? The mystery endures, and we are left to wonder, could there be other signs scattered across the land that offer further clues to this ancient puzzle? As we leave behind the heated debates of the Heaven Runestone, we now find ourselves in the ancient and mistrouted mountains of western North Carolina, where a remarkable yet cryptic stone carving awaits our attention. Tucked away in the shadow of the Appalachian Range, nestled among the dense forests and rushing streams, lies Judicula Rock, a massive rock slab covered in enigmatic symbols. Carved into the stone's surface are intricate markings, symbols that have mystified archaeologists, linguists, and historians alike for centuries. The true meaning of these carvings and their origins remain an unsolved enigma wrapped in both indigenous myth and mysterious history. Judicula Rock stands on a small plateau near the banks of the Takasi River. The rock itself is large, measuring about 16 ft by 9 ft, and it is covered in a sprawling array of petroglyphs. These symbols are carved deep into the stone, etched with such precision that they have survived the ravages of time, weather, and the changing landscape. The carvings are believed to have been made by the Native American Cherokee people, though the exact date of their creation remains uncertain. Some estimates place the petroglyphs at around 1,000 years old, though others argue they could be much older. The image of a human-like figure with an elongated, oddly shaped head is one of the most striking, while other symbols resemble geometric patterns, spirals, and abstract shapes. What is particularly intriguing about Judicula Rock is not only the sheer number of symbols carved into its surface, but the lack of understanding about their purpose or meaning. The symbols on the rock don't correspond directly with any known written language, and their interpretations have remained a mystery. While many researchers believe the carvings are related to the spiritual beliefs and cosmology of the Cherokee, no definitive explanation has been found for what the symbols truly represent. One of the most prominent figures in Cherokee mythology is Judicula, a giant who is said to have lived in the region long before humans, and the rock's name Judicula Rock derives from this mythical being. According to the legend, Judicula was a formidable figure who could shapeshift and was known to possess great strength. He was said to have created the petroglyphs, either by carving them himself or by having them created to commemorate significant events in his life. Some even suggest that the petroglyphs could represent a form of Cherokee calendar or a map of celestial bodies marking important events such as eclipses or the movements of the stars. But as compelling as the connection between Judicula Rock and Cherokee mythology is, it doesn't fully explain the carvings themselves. While some symbols seem to resemble representations of animals or natural elements, others are more abstract, leading some researchers to wonder if they hold a deeper, perhaps even universal significance. Could the markings be a form of communication between different tribes, or even a way of telling stories through visual symbols? Might they represent something more complex, such as a sophisticated system of astronomy or a coded message? Adding to the mystery of Judicula Rock is the location itself. The site sits on land that was once considered sacred by the Cherokee people, with nearby waterways and the forest itself holding spiritual significance. There are those who argue that the carvings were intended as a type of spiritual or ritualistic map designed to guide people to sacred locations or to mark events that were important to the tribe's cosmology. Some have even speculated that the rock could be connected to ancient traditions of shamanic rituals used by Cherokee medicine men or spiritual leaders as a means of connecting to the spirit world. This connection between the carvings and the sacred nature of the site only deepens the mystery. If the rock is indeed sacred, What were these symbols meant to convey to those who encountered them? The more one looks at the rock, the more questions arise. Some of the symbols seem to suggest a knowledge of astronomy far ahead of its time. Among the carvings, some resemble depictions of celestial bodies or constellations, while others seem to align with the cycles of the moon or the paths of the sun. Could the Cherokee, or perhaps even earlier cultures in the region, have been far more advanced in their understanding of the heavens than we give them credit for? The possibility that Judacular rock is not just a cultural artifact, but a celestial calendar, or even an ancient astronomical observatory, has intrigued some modern theorists. It raises the question, how much of what we consider indigenous knowledge might have been based on a much deeper understanding of the universe? Knowledge might have been based on a much deeper understanding of the universe. Equally perplexing are the more abstract carvings on the rock, geometric shapes, spirals, and what appear to be labyrinthine patterns. These symbols, unlike anything seen in other Native American petroglyphs, have led some researchers to propose more fringe theories about the rock's purpose. Could the carvings represent a lost or forgotten system of writing, one that used abstract symbols to communicate ideas that have since been lost to history? Or might the rock itself hold keys to understanding a lost civilization, one that existed long before the Cherokee, and possibly influenced their beliefs and practices? The idea of a lost, forgotten people having some connection to the markings at Judacular rock is certainly tantalizing. Over the years, there have been occasional references to lost or hidden civilizations. Some even suggest that the rock might be a relic from distant, long-forgotten people who traveled across ancient seas or across time. Could these symbols be remnants of an earlier civilization, one that understood the stars, the cosmos, or the natural world in ways that we have yet to comprehend? Or is this a simple case of local indigenous people leaving behind their mark in an expression of cultural identity and spiritual belief, perhaps unknowingly leaving clues for future generations? Despite the numerous attempts to decode the symbols, no single theory has emerged that satisfies everyone. Some mainstream archaeologists and linguists are cautious, suggesting that the markings might not hold the key to an advanced knowledge system at all, but could instead represent a form of folk art, storytelling, or ceremonial expression. But even this explanation doesn't fully account for the intricacy of the petroglyphs or the seeming precision of their placement. The true purpose of Judacular rock may remain a mystery for the foreseeable future, but its presence continues to intrigue and captivate those who study it. What remains unknown about the symbols carved into this stone slab? Could they hold secrets of a lost history or a knowledge of the world that we've long forgotten? With every new theory and every new discovery, the enigma of Judacular rock deepens, urging us to look beyond the surface and question what we think we know about the past. As we step back from the mystery, we are left to wonder what secrets still lie hidden in the stones of the past, waiting for the right moment or the right mind to unlock their meaning. As we leave the haunting mystery of the Judacular rock behind, we travel across the Atlantic Ocean to a different world, one rich with ancient history, hidden beneath the rolling hills of southern England. Here on the crest of White Horse Hill lies an iconic monument that has stood the test of time. Its origins are veiled in enigma. Its purpose is wrapped in layers of cultural significance. It is known as the Uffington Horse, and it's a massive geoglyph, one of the oldest in Europe, etched into the chalky slopes of the hill visible from miles away. It's a symbol of something ancient, perhaps even mystical, that invites us to consider the untold stories buried in the landscape itself. Stretching over 360 ft long, the Uffington Horse takes the form of a sleek, elongated equine figure carved into the earth with remarkable precision. From the air, its majestic form is unmistakable, a striking outline against the green backdrop. The horse's body appears to gallop in mid-motion, its tail and mane flowing, its limbs in a poised yet powerful stance. Standing as a silent sentinel over the surrounding land, the figure has piqued the curiosity of archaeologists, historians, and mystics for generations. But its true purpose, its origin, and even its meaning remain elusive, giving rise to questions that have echoed through the centuries. The horse is believed to have been created sometime around 1000 BC during the early Iron Age, and it may have served as a symbol of power, fertility, or divinity. However, the more we delve into the mystery of the Uffington Horse, the more layers we uncover, each one more complex than the last. It's not just the figure itself that sparks intrigue, but the changes to the very earth beneath it that reveal a deeper puzzle, one that only modern technology has begun to uncover. Beneath the surface of the Uffington Horse lies an astonishing discovery: subsurface alterations. These are changes to the shape and structure of the hill and the geoglyph itself that have remained hidden for thousands of years, only now being revealed through advanced archaeological techniques like ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic surveys. As researchers, Continuing to study the rock and the surrounding area, they've begun to piece together a story of multiple layered alterations, suggesting that the Uffington horse was not a static monument, but a living entity, an evolving symbol that shifted with the changing needs and beliefs of those who created it. Initially, many believed the Uffington horse was a single unchanging design, a fixed symbol rooted in the rituals and beliefs of its creators. However, as excavation and non-invasive scanning techniques advanced, new evidence surfaced that pointed to a more dynamic process. The alterations beneath the surface of the horse's form reveal a history of modification, suggesting that the geoglyph was altered over the centuries, perhaps in response to shifts in political power, spiritual beliefs, or even celestial events. One of the most striking aspects of these subsurface alterations is their apparent pattern. Certain sections of the figure have been changed or reshaped at various points in history, most notably the horse's head and tail. The head of the horse, for example, appears to have been recarved multiple times, with different designs being laid over previous ones, perhaps to reflect changes in the social or spiritual context of the time. This raises an important question. What drove these changes? Were they the result of evolving religious beliefs, or were they intended to mark a specific event such as a shift in the seasonal cycle or the rise of a new ruler? And what does it say about the way these early societies viewed their environment and their relationship to it? Some theories suggest that these alterations were tied to the broader cultural and spiritual practices of Iron Age Britain. The horse in many ancient cultures was a symbol of power, fertility, and connection to the divine. As an emblem of these qualities, the Uffington horse might have served a ritualistic or ceremonial function, perhaps even representing a god or a celestial being. If this was the case, it's possible that the form of the horse was altered over time to reflect changes in the belief systems of those who worshipped it. The idea of evolving or mutable symbols is not new. It echoes across various cultures, where icons and monuments evolve in response to shifting spiritual or political landscapes. But the alterations to the Uffington horse also point to something more significant. Could it have been a celestial calendar? Some researchers have suggested that the figure could have been designed as a marker for astronomical events such as solstices or equinoxes. The changes in the figure's form might have reflected a recalibration of its alignment with the stars, perhaps to track the movements of constellations or the path of the sun. Such a theory would tie the Uffington horse not only to the land and its people, but also to the cosmos, suggesting that the creators of the geoglyph possessed an advanced understanding of the heavens, one that was embedded into their culture. Some even argue that the horse may have served as a marker of territory or power. The location of the Huffington horse on White Horse Hill, a site of both geographical and symbolic prominence, suggests that it might have had a more political or social function, serving as a claim to the land or as a symbol of dominance. Its maintenance and alteration over time might have represented the changing fortunes of the people who inhabited the region, reflecting shifts in power, leadership, or influence. But the mystery deepens further when we consider the ritualistic alterations that have been found in the surrounding area. Some researchers have pointed to evidence of other geoglyphs, barrows, and ceremonial sites in close proximity to the Uffington horse. The entire region is dotted with ancient earthworks, many of which align with astronomical events or seasonal cycles. Could the Uffington horse have been part of a broader ritual landscape designed to honor the cycles of the sun, the moon, or the stars? If so, the modifications to the figure could have been an attempt to realign it with changing cosmic forces or events. It raises an intriguing question. Were the alterations to the Uffington horse not just about the horse itself, but about the people's ongoing relationship with the cosmos? While the possibility of a celestial or astronomical function for the horse is compelling, there are those who suggest a more mystical explanation. Some proponents of alternative theories argue that the Uffington horse represents a lost or forgotten ancient knowledge, perhaps even an extraterrestrial influence. Could the horse, with its precision and grandeur, be a clue to an ancient civilization far beyond Iron Age Britain? Some claim that the subsurface alterations reflect an attempt to encode knowledge into the landscape, as if the geoglyph was a form of Earth-based writing, a message or map that was intended to be interpreted by future generations, despite the many competing theories. The true nature of the Uffington horse and its subsurface alterations remains a mystery. Its purpose, whether celestial, spiritual, political, or otherwise, is still a subject of great debate. As technology advances and new methods of exploration become available, perhaps more will be revealed about this ancient monument, and we will gain further insight into its origins and significance. As we stand before the Uffington horse, we are left with a deep sense of wonder about the people who created it and the meaning it holds. What truths lie hidden beneath the earth, still waiting to be uncovered? How much of our understanding of ancient cultures is still shrouded in mystery, lost to time? The Uffington horse, with its layers of alteration, its connection to the stars, and its enduring presence on the hillside, remains a symbol of something far larger, something we may never fully understand, but can never stop seeking. What if the horse's true meaning has yet to be discovered? What if there are still secrets embedded in the chalk, waiting to be brought to light? The enigma of the Uffington horse, much like so many of history's greatest mysteries, continues to beckon, drawing us closer to the hidden truths of the past. As we continue our journey through the enigmatic landscapes of history's most compelling mysteries, we now find ourselves in the heart of France at a site where sacred geometry, divine design, and a profound spiritual legacy converge. Chartres Cathedral. This magnificent Gothic structure with its soaring spires and intricate stained glass has stood as a beacon of faith, artistry, and intellectual pursuit for nearly 1,000 years. But beyond its architectural grandeur lies a feature of the cathedral that has mystified visitors and scholars alike for centuries: the Chartres Labyrinth. Set within the cathedral's labyrinthian floor, the Chartres Labyrinth is a striking geometric design formed by a series of concentric circles and winding paths etched into the stone. Unlike the conventional mazes that often symbolize confusion or entrapment, this labyrinth offers a unique invitation. It's not about leading you astray. Rather, it's about leading you inward towards introspection, enlightenment, and a deeper understanding of the divine. But what is its origin? Why was it placed in the center of one of the most important Christian cathedrals in Europe? And what significance did it hold for those who walked its paths? The labyrinth at Chartres is believed to have been constructed sometime around the early 13th century, when the cathedral itself was built. Though the cathedral's history can be traced back to the 4th century, the labyrinth as we see it today is the result of later Gothic renovations. Its pattern consists of 11 concentric circles with 34 turns along its winding route, creating a path that stretches a full 260 m. The labyrinth is not meant to be a maze in the traditional sense. Rather, it is a symbolic journey, a pilgrimage, if you will. The idea was that upon walking its path, pilgrims could symbolically recreate their spiritual journey towards God. However, the question arises, why such a design? Why a labyrinth? And why at the very heart of the cathedral, beneath the feet of those who come seeking divine grace? The fact that this labyrinth was not a passing trend in medieval architecture adds to the enigma. Labyrinths were not uncommon in the Middle Ages, but the Chartres Labyrinth stands out for its complexity, precision, and the profound sense of intention that seems embedded in its design. The origins of the Chartres Labyrinth have long been the subject of intense scholarly debate. While many accept that the labyrinth is a medieval Christian creation designed to represent the pilgrim's spiritual path, there is no definitive historical record explaining its precise meaning or purpose. This absence of clear documentation has fueled numerous theories, some scholarly, others speculative. One widely accepted theory is that the labyrinth represents a symbolic pilgrimage. Medieval pilgrims to Chartres were often unable to make the physical journey to Jerusalem, so the labyrinth offered a substitute, a spiritual path to the sacred city. As they walked the labyrinth, often on their knees, they recreated the arduous pilgrimage, seeking spiritual cleansing and renewal. This theory is supported by the presence of the cathedral's relics, which were said to include the tunic of the Virgin Mary, a piece of cloth believed to have been worn by Mary during the birth of Jesus. Pilgrims would walk the labyrinth in devotion, praying at each step as they symbolically moved toward salvation. But the labyrinth's design also suggests a far deeper, possibly older meaning, one that transcends the limits of medieval Christianity. Some have pointed out that the pattern of the Chartres Labyrinth bears striking similarities to ancient labyrinths found throughout the world. The concept of the labyrinth as a symbol of life's journey or the quest for spiritual enlightenment appears in a variety of cultures, from the ancient Greeks to the indigenous peoples of the Americas. The winding paths of Chartres are akin to the labyrinths found in Crete, where the myth of the Minotaur was born, or even the Celtic labyrinths, which were used for meditation and healing. Could the Chartres Labyrinth be the product of a much older tradition? Some believe it draws upon these ancient symbols, adapting them for a Christian context. Indeed, the connection between the Chartres Labyrinth and pagan traditions has been a point of interest for many. The use of labyrinths in pre-Christian cultures, whether for ritual purposes, symbolic rebirth, or alignment with celestial forces, suggests that the design at Chartres might be more than just a Christian pilgrimage route. Could the labyrinth have been conceived with a much broader spiritual understanding, one that reaches beyond Christianity and connects to an ancient worldview? Another intriguing aspect of the Chartres Labyrinth is its geometric precision. The layout is not just a random collection of winding paths. it is a remarkably sophisticated design. Some researchers have pointed out that the geometry of the labyrinth adheres to certain sacred mathematical principles, such as the golden ratio and sacred geometry, which were highly valued in ancient and medieval traditions. Sacred geometry is the idea that certain shapes, proportions, and patterns have inherent spiritual significance. The Charter's labyrinth, with its precise proportions and perfect symmetry, might have been designed with these principles in mind. This raises the question, why this geometry? Was the labyrinth created merely as a physical manifestation of a spiritual journey, or did the very geometry of its design serve as a key to understanding deeper cosmic truths? Some scholars suggest that the layout of the labyrinth is not only symbolic of the soul's journey, but that it may also encode astronomical knowledge or represent a cosmic map, the winding. Paths could symbolize the cycles of the moon or the movement of planets, positioning the labyrinth as a reflection of the universe itself. Others believe the labyrinth was meant to symbolize the unity of opposites. The winding paths converging at the center could represent the coming together of dualities, the sacred and the profane, the earthly and the divine. The experience of walking the labyrinth, then, would not just be a physical journey, but a way to reconcile these opposites within oneself, an internal journey toward balance and harmony. Could it have been designed with this spiritual principle in mind, an invitation to reflect on the nature of existence itself? Perhaps the most provocative theory surrounding the Charter labyrinth is the possibility of its connections to ancient mystical traditions, which are still not fully understood. Some fringe scholars have suggested that the labyrinth's design could hold connections to ancient Egypt, where the idea of labyrinths was associated with the afterlife and the gods. Could there be an esoteric meaning behind the labyrinth's precise geometry, one that links the Christian pilgrimage to older, more esoteric spiritual practices? Could the Chartres labyrinth be more than just a Christian device? Could it be a repository of hidden knowledge, a key to understanding ancient mysteries that were lost to history? One such theory posits that the labyrinth is a symbol of the path to enlightenment, encoded with teachings that span across millennia. Some speculate that it could be a map for the initiation rites of ancient mystery schools, such as those of the Gnostics, or perhaps even an echo of the Pythagoreans who valued sacred geometry as the key to unlocking deeper truths about the universe. There is even the suggestion that the labyrinth's design could be related to the Roscarouillon, an esoteric Christian group that arose in the 16th century who were known for their belief in hidden spiritual truths. While these more mystical interpretations may lack concrete evidence, they add a layer of complexity to the labyrinth story. The idea that the labyrinth could serve as a doorway to hidden knowledge or a key to accessing ancient wisdom is a notion that has fascinated many for centuries. But the question remains, did the creators of the Chartres labyrinth have knowledge of these older traditions? Or were they merely tapping into something universal, a symbol of spiritual journeying that transcended time and culture? As we reflect on the Charter labyrinth and its origins, we find ourselves facing a paradox. The more we know, the more there is to question. Was this labyrinth a product of its time, a purely Christian design meant to guide pilgrims on a symbolic journey toward God? Or was it something far older, a reflection of ancient universal spiritual principles that we have only just begun to understand? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. The labyrinth could be a synthesis of the old and the new, a fusion of ancient esoteric knowledge and Christian ritual, a gateway to both the physical and the spiritual. The labyrinth at Chartres continues to speak to us across the centuries, offering not just a path for pilgrims, but a puzzle to be solved, a mystery to be explored. The answers may lie hidden beneath the stones of the cathedral floor, waiting for a future generation to uncover. But for now, the mystery of the Chartres labyrinth remains unsolved, leaving us to wonder what knowledge may yet be buried in its winding paths, and what truths might still be hidden from our understanding. As we stand at the center of the Charter labyrinth, the stone beneath our feet feels heavy with centuries of history, thought, and ritual. The purpose of this maze-like path may have been clear to those who walked it in the 13th century, but for modern visitors, it remains a subject of ongoing speculation and awe. Was the labyrinth simply a Christian tool for prayer, or does it hold knowledge that spans multiple epochs, inviting us to rediscover ancient truths? Could the precise geometry of the labyrinth serve as a universal key, waiting for the right mind to unlock its mysteries? Perhaps as we continue our journey through time, the answer is not something that can be found in old texts or forgotten manuscripts, but in the very act of walking the labyrinth itself. In retracing the steps of those who sought enlightenment, we may begin to understand the deeper meaning of its design. In a world so often defined by linear thinking, the labyrinth offers an alternative, a journey where the twists and turns, rather than leading to confusion, might guide us toward clarity. It invites us to walk not just physically, but spiritually into a place where ancient wisdom and modern curiosity meet. Could the Charter Labyrinth then be a portal, one that invites us to challenge our perceptions of the world and ourselves? Its winding paths might not just symbolize the individual's pilgrimage to God, but also reflect the broader journey of humanity toward understanding the mysteries of the cosmos. In this light, the labyrinth becomes more than a symbol of faith. It is a metaphor for the human condition where the journey itself, with all its twists, turns, and uncertainties, is the most profound destination. With every step we take along the Charter Labyrinth, we are reminded that mysteries are not necessarily meant to be solved, but to be experienced. Its design encourages us to look beyond the surface, to dig deeper, and to find meaning in places we might otherwise overlook. The labyrinth, like life itself, offers no easy answers, but it invites us to seek, to question, and to explore. Perhaps in the end, it is not about finding definitive answers, but about embracing the mystery and letting it guide us toward new horizons of understanding. As we leave behind the sacred paths of Chartres Cathedral, we turn our attention to an entirely different part of the world. An island off the coast of Japan where the mystery of Yononi beckons with the same enigmatic allure. Yononi, part of the Ryukyu Islands, is known for its breathtaking landscapes and vibrant culture, but beneath the waves surrounding it lies a phenomenon that has confounded archaeologists, geologists, and historians for decades. The Yononi Monument, often referred to as a submerged temple or pyramid, is a series of massive square-cut rock formations sitting at the bottom of the ocean near the island's coast. Some claim these formations are the remnants of an ancient pre-modern civilization that predates recorded history. Others argue they are simply natural formations shaped by the forces of the sea over millennia. The mystery intensifies when we consider the quarry marks found on the submerged stones. These marks, which appear to resemble the tools and techniques used in ancient stonework, have become a point of contention among researchers. Could they be evidence of a sophisticated, long-lost civilization, or is there a simpler explanation, one that fits within the boundaries of geology and natural forces? The Yonoguni Monument itself sits at a depth of around 30 m, about 100 ft, and covers an area roughly 50 m, 164 ft in length. To the untrained eye, it may seem like nothing more than a natural formation, a series of stepped terraces and ridges carved out by the gradual erosion of water and wind over thousands of years. The stone blocks have a distinctly geometric shape, some even resembling steps or terraces that stretch across the ocean floor, while others appear to be neatly stacked. To the observer from above, these features are eerily reminiscent of man-made structures, perhaps a submerged city or the remains of a grand ancient temple complex lost to time. In 1987, diver and researcher Kihiro Aratake was among the first to bring the Yononi Monument to the world's attention. His discovery of the seemingly artificial features beneath the water sparked both excitement and skepticism. Some argued that these were the remnants of an ancient civilization that had once thrived on the island, while others countered that the formations were simply a natural consequence of geological forces. What truly sets the Yononi Monument apart from other underwater discoveries, however, is the presence of quarry marks on the stones. Marks that resemble tool imprints, often associated with human stonework. These marks have been found on several stones around the structure, most notably along the terraces and platforms of the monument. They appear to follow geometric patterns and even resemble the marks left by specific types of ancient tools, such as chisels or hammers used in stone cutting. For many, these quarry marks represent irrefutable evidence that the Yononi Monument was deliberately shaped by human hands. The debate surrounding the Yononi Monument and its quarry marks is one of the most contentious in the study of ancient civilizations. On one side, proponents of the man-made theory argue that the precision of the cuts, the geometric layout of the structure, and the quarry marks all point to a level of craftsmanship that could only have been achieved by a highly skilled ancient civilization. Some even suggest that the monument could be the remains of a lost civilization, perhaps predating recorded history by thousands of years. This theory is bolstered by the fact that the Yononi Monument is located in an area rich with evidence of ancient cultures. The Ryukyu Islands themselves have a long history with settlements dating back to at least the Jomon period, 14,000 to 300 BCE. Could the monument be the remnant of a prehistoric civilization that once flourished on the islands? Some researchers have even pointed to the Atlantis connection, speculating that the Yononi Monument could be linked to the legendary lost city submerged beneath the ocean after a catastrophic event. However, critics of the man-made theory argue that the formation of the Yononi Monument can be explained through natural geological processes. The region is known for its unique geology, including sandstone formations, which over millennia have been sculpted by water and tectonic activity into stepped formations resembling artificial structures. According to geologists, the natural processes of erosion, faulting, and shifting could have created the precise shapes seen at Yanoni, including the terraces and vertical columns that appear to mimic human-made architecture. In this naturalistic explanation, the quarry marks are dismissed as naturally occurring fractures or erosion patterns, which when viewed from certain angles can give the illusion of tool marks. The claim is that over time, the tectonic forces of the region have caused the sandstone to break and fracture in ways that appear deliberate, but are entirely the result of natural processes. The quarry marks themselves are perhaps the most compelling and puzzling aspect of the Yonaguni monument. Upon closer examination, the marks appear to resemble tool imprints left by ancient humans working with stone. Some marks are deep straight lines that run along the edges of the blocks, while others are more complex with distinct angles and curves. These marks seem to correspond with certain areas of the monument, particularly the terraces and platforms where the stone appears to have been cut or shaped in a manner that suggests human intervention. To some, these marks represent a form of ancient craftsmanship. The shape of the cuts, the alignment of the blocks, and the symmetry of the features all suggest a level of planning and design that goes beyond what could be expected from purely natural forces. Could these marks be evidence of an ancient civilization's ability to quarry and shape stone? Were they used in the construction of some monumental structure long since submerged beneath the waves? If so, could these people have possessed advanced techniques, possibly unknown to modern archaeologists? On the other hand, the theory that the quarry marks are simply the result of natural geological processes cannot be easily dismissed. It's important to remember that tectonic activity is common in the region, and the very nature of sandstone can allow for the formation of fractures and ridges that resemble cutting marks. The waves and currents of the ocean might also have eroded the stones in a way that mimics human carving, further blurring the line between natural and man-made. Moreover, the absence of artifacts in the immediate vicinity of the monument, such as pottery, tools, or other signs of human habitation, raises further doubts about the man-made theory. If the monument were truly the product of an ancient civilization, why haven't more definitive traces of that civilization been found? While the debate between natural and man-made explanations continues, some have speculated on more mystical or speculative theories regarding the Yanoni monument. One of the more popular fringe theories links the monument to ancient extraterrestrials, suggesting that the features seen at Yanoni were the result of advanced beings who used technology beyond human capabilities. This theory posits that the quarry marks and the stone's unusual geometric precision could not have been the work of humans alone, but rather some lost knowledge or influence from alien visitors. Another theory speculates that the monument is connected to lost civilizations like the Moon or Atlantis, legendary lands believed to have existed thousands of years ago before being submerged beneath the ocean in catastrophic events. Proponents of this theory point to the apparent man-made quality of the monument's features as evidence that the people of these ancient civilizations possessed a level of knowledge and engineering far ahead of their time. However, no physical evidence has been found to support the existence of such civilizations, leaving the theory firmly in the realm of speculation. The mystery of the Yonaguni monument and its quarry marks remains unsolved. Was it created by an ancient civilization long lost to time and buried beneath the sea? Or is it simply a natural formation that has fooled generations of curious minds? The truth may never be fully known, but the questions it raises are as relevant today as they were when the monument was first discovered. The debate over the Yanoni monument is a microcosm of the broader tension between conventional archaeological wisdom and more speculative theories about ancient civilizations. As technology advances and new discoveries are made, perhaps we will one day uncover more definitive answers. But for now, Yanoni remains a haunting and unresolved enigma, a submerged puzzle waiting to be solved, challenging us to look beyond the surface and wonder what may still lie hidden beneath the waves. For historians and archaeologists alike, the enigma of the Yanoni monument presents an ongoing puzzle, one that challenges our understanding of ancient cultures, geological forces, and the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of our world. The quarry marks in particular seem to stand as a testimony to a more sophisticated age, whether human or otherwise. They may hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the past, offering a glimpse into a civilization that might have existed long before the recorded history we know today. As we contemplate the mysteries of Yanoni, we are reminded of the countless unexplained phenomena that dot the globe, waiting to be discovered or understood. Whether it is a man-made structure or a natural formation, the questions surrounding it are still far from answered. What if there is more to this monument than meets the eye? Could the quarry marks, the terraces, and the geometric shapes be a testament to ancient techniques we have yet to fully comprehend? Could they reflect the understanding of cosmic forces or even knowledge of the Earth's hidden energies that has been lost to us over time? Moreover, the absence of artifacts or conclusive proof regarding the builder's identity continues to fuel the speculative nature of the mystery. What civilization with all its advanced knowledge might have created such a monument? And why would it have been abandoned, perhaps deliberately hidden beneath the waves? Was the monument once part of a larger complex that existed in an era far before our known history, only to succumb to natural or catastrophic forces? The mystery of the Yanoni monument is not just an isolated case. It speaks to the broader curiosity that drives humanity, the need to understand our origins, our past, and the possible civilizations that might have walked the Earth before us. As we dive deeper into the ocean's depths, we unearth not only physical remnants but also philosophical questions. What is lost to time, and how much of our past is still waiting to be rediscovered? For now, the Yanoni monument remains submerged in mystery. Its quarry marks are still etched into stone, silently whispering secrets of a long-forgotten past. The answers may lie in the future, waiting for us to dive deeper, to question further, and to seek out the truth that is concealed beneath the waves. Until then, we remain captivated by this extraordinary enigma, a monument not just to ancient civilizations, but to the enduring human quest for knowledge and understanding.